Salutations, Legion of Doom. Welcome to the podcast The Storm. We're socially awkward outcasts, crazy weirdos, and all around nerds convene to talk and debate all things pop culture. With me, as always, is my co-host, the nerdy occultist, aka the Authenticator, Dalton L. Mortimer.
Good evening.
Okay, so yeah, how's everyone? Right, and I had a complete brain fart there for a second. Sorry. Yeah, I am your host. Last time we want to be the brainstorm pop culture. How's everyone doing tonight?
I am better than I was yesterday, so that's good.
Hey, you're with friends. That's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Although we are covering some stuff that we might not like, so.
I mean, on the one hand, I might be getting one of my boys in the MCU shortly, so that's nice. But
anyway, this week, probably next week too. I don't. Actually, we might have to do two more, possibly. Not sure for this upcoming week, because I believe this upcoming week is the last week of September. But we have. Let me check my calendar.
Today is the 18th. I think the 25th is also 25th, and then.
No, yeah, next week is the last week. Or last Sunday this month.
Today is the 18th. Next week is the 25th, and then I believe October 2nd would be the next day or the next Sunday.
Yeah. So.
Unless I'm not, because 30 days.
You're right. I'm looking at a calendar. You're right. Yes, yeah, I'm looking at a calendar right now.
Hooray! I can do mental math still. I'm not entirely useless at that one thing. Yeah.
If possible, we will, if we can, squeeze in like a lot of the stuff we had planned. So I don't want to wait like a month because we have October.
We could do another show on Thursday and clean up the rest of the stuff we haven't done yet.
Right.
We could proceed with October as we should.
Mm.
And that is October with two O's because pun, folks.
We'll figure it out. Just we had a lot of other stuff besides Disney stuff. So, yeah, but this week we'll be covering the Marvel stuff. Not all of it, mind you. Mainly trailers and one other thing that just so like we can end on a positive note.
Yeah.
Although I don't really think there'll be anything that like really upset us or anything.
Yeah, I also wanted to mention there wasn't really an article or anything based around it yet. But we got the roster for the upcoming Thunderbolts movie, and I gotta say I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed at all. It's Yelena Belova from Black Widow, because she's apparently going to be the next Black Widow. It's John Walker from Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's who else? There's a couple other ones. Did they throw in Texas? Oh no, I guess they did. So
I remember the concept art they showed.
Yeah, but the long and the short of it, and this is why I'm less impressed than I would otherwise be, is no Abomination and no Agatha Harkness or Mordo, which means I was kind of thinking that every member of the Avengers would have a surrogate in the Thunderbolts, and they would kind of do a Dark Avengers thing with all the various villains and side characters from different things. But apparently they don't want to use Agatha as like the panacea for magical stuff or Mordo. And in a sane world, you'd have both because both Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch are on the Avengers, so having Agatha and Mordo on the Thunderbolts, and again Abomination as well because Hulk. But no, apparently not. So I said I was potentially looking forward to the Thunderbolts when we covered the Comic-Con Phase 4 and 5 slates, or Phase 5 and 6 slates, but you can strike my enjoyment of the Thunderbolts now because they don't have a single magic user on the team, and they didn't even bother to throw in Abomination. So,
so I just looked up the roster. So Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, which is weird to me. Also, hello, Dragon Turtle. Sorry, I saw your comment. I just didn't want to interrupt on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Winter Soldier. And again, they really should have called him White Wolf if the whole theme of the show was like moving on, starting over.
Yeah, if Sam Wilson gets to move on and become the new Captain America, then surely Bucky gets to step out of Steve's shadow and just become the White Wolf. Because what they could have done is they could have, in the same way that they switched out Falcon in Falcon and Winter Soldier and made it Captain America and Winter Soldier, they could have made it Captain America and the White Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah, so Elena Belova, Black Widow.
Yeah.
Red Guardian.
Yeah. He was the one I couldn't remember.
Yeah, U.S. Agent, Taskmaster. Who it's the same actress, but even though like they have the design to look, I don't know, it's weird to me. Ghost.
Yeah.
From
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I honestly don't remember that movie.
Honestly, she was a pretty cool aspect of that movie, and I'm interested to see what they'll do with her powers because her powers are really interesting, and her character is also really interesting. So that's fine. But again, I was kind of hoping they would kind of do a Dark Avengers thing with U.S. Agent, obviously, as a surrogate for Cap, Yelena as a surrogate for Black Widow, Abomination as a surrogate for Hulk, right. Agatha standing in for Wanda, and Mordo standing in for Doctor Strange. But apparently, it's a bunch of super soldiers and not a single magic user on the Thunderbolts team, despite the fact that it's supposed to be a big like phase capping Avengers type movie.
You know, the thing is, recently, the last week or so, I saw again, I've talked about this guy before, Nando V Movies. Good guy, bit long-winded at times with his videos, but not a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, most people that are worth listening to can occasionally be long-winded, and yeah. I am partially saying that for self-serving reasons. Haha.
But yeah, he made a pitch video for the Thunderbolts, and it was a really interesting concept because he kind of combined both like the Suicide Squad version of them with the villains pretending to be heroes thing.
Yeah, like that was basically what I thought the pitch was Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad mixed with a little bit of like Dark Avengers mixed with let's take the standout villains from the various shows and movies we've done recently that haven't really gotten much screen time and have them play. And again, given that Agatha is awesome enough to have warranted her own show, which she is, and anyone who disagrees can bite me because Agatha's awesome. And given that, you know, especially lately, the Avengers has been balanced between street level fighters, science-based characters, like science experiment characters, and
Right.
magic users. You'd think there would at least be one magic user on there. I would I would prefer both Agatha and Mordo being on the team, but I would have settled for at least Agatha.
Right.
But,
The thing I liked about it though was it brought back a lot of characters that you just kind of forgot. I'm sure a lot of people, like even
yeah, but
forgot.
that's gonna be a bit of a problem though, because it's a team made up of characters that people either forgot existed, period, or never learned about in the first place. In the
Well,
case
no,
of
like the antagonist of that pitch from Nano V Movies again. I would recommend checking it out. Like, I don't think I'm going to do a good job explaining it, and we are going to get to the topics at hand. Just this.
sorry, I threw in an extra one off the top of my head because it occurred to me that we were going to talk about the Marvel stuff from D23 without mentioning anything having to do with the Thunderbolts casting. And I recall saying that I was excited for Thunderbolts when we did the Comic-Con Phase 5 breakdown reaction. So,
But I
yeah, strike that because
I am
they
somewhat
did a
upset.
stupid thing.
But before I get into what I was going to talk about, I am
Mhm.
upset that they put Red Guardian on there. Not because like I like that character, I really do. I just wish we got like the Winter Guard.
It's also not very balanced, because again, like, the whole point is supposed to be that Thunderbolt is to Phase 5 what an Avengers movie was to Phase 1 through 3. And again, normally when you have an Avengers type crossover movie, you have um bits and pieces from every aspect of the universe. So you've got your street level fighters, you've got your super soldiers, um you've got your science experiments, you've got your magic users, and so on and so on and so on. So here it's like three super soldier or super soldier adjacent things, two Black Widow adjacent things, and one Ant-Man quantum based villain. So it's like, again, maybe I'm being biased here, but there should be some kind of cosmic representation here, and there should be some kind of magic representation here.
It's too bad that we didn't. It's too bad that they don't have like a Loki there.
Yeah, and also, again, given that it's supposed to kind of be a mixture between like Suicide Squad and the Avengers, but evil, Abomination really should have been on that team.
Anyway, enough dilly-dallying.
Especially because they've never done anything outside of now finally doing something with him in She-Hulk with Abomination. So it'd be good to see him again. But
All right,
never mind.
So this is the first trailer, Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion, which I believe is going to be a mini-series. They really love mini-series, these phases now.
Yeah, they're relying on the TV shows to do a lot of the work, and it has had mixed results because, again, thinking about what they've done with Thunderbolts, like 2 out of 3 of the people on the Thunderbolts team are directly from not even the most popular of the TV shows, which again brings up the question of why there'd be no Agatha, but that's neither here nor there. Like,
Okay, so before we get in, Giant Troll brings up an interesting point. I don't know. Cosmic representation isn't anything cosmic, usually fairly high power levels. Not even just in the peaks, but in the sense that a cosmic character's dump stat is like a street level character's primary stats.
I mean,
it does agree with you on the magic thing.
Not exactly. I get what you're saying, but like, take the Guardians for example. The Guardians of the Galaxy. They're not particularly high powered. I mean, you could have made the argument with Star-Lord when he was tapping into his celestial heritage, but apparently they've just dropped that into the memory hole of forgetting. So that's not even a thing. Like, most of the Guardians of the Galaxy aren't particularly high powered. Even the Eternals are like analogous to an Earthbound set of characters mostly. Although never bring up the Eternals again if you value the continuation of this franchise, Marvel, unless you want to do what you should have done from the get-go and base its style much more along the lines of Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor Ragnarok, because Kirbyism.
Okay, hold
That's
on.
the only way to salvage Eternals at this point.
Okay, so he's clarifying because he thought he meant something else. Cosmic meant stuff like Fantastic Four, Heralds of Galactics, etc. So cosmic equals space/sci-fi.
I mean, Cosmic is probably the most broad of the classifications because it can include the just alien tech ones, but it can also include the cosmic metaphysical side of things. Like you could have had what was the one Jin villain's name from Miss Marvel on that team to kind of, or you could have even had Monica Rambeau as she could have been a decent team leader actually for the Thunderbolts. And that's the other thing that's bothering me. There's this weird thing with the Thunderbolts roster that we have where they all seem like potential team leaders, but not in a good way. It just seems like a team where everyone is going to try to be the leader with no one actually being the team leader. Because, I mean...
Okay, it's also this thing I noticed, I thought about. You're right about the whole thing. It's fairly unbalanced because most of them have the similar skill sets.
Yeah, they're all...
Okay,
they're all enhanced brawlers to some degree or other.
And the thing I remember from the first Avengers movie is that each member brought something different to the team.
Each member was kind of the representative of a corner of the MCU, and that.
Not even that. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking more actual operations.
Tony was the tech guy. Cap was the strategist. Hulk was the walking WMD.
Well, that and also Bruce Banner was a highly intelligent, highly skilled scientist back when he was allowed to be that.
And Black Widow brings in the espionage thing, and Hawkeye is technically a particularly specialized combat specialist. So they all had their, as it reminds me of Cap's speech when he was rallying everybody in the first Avengers. He points at each member and goes, "Okay, you can do this thing, and we need this thing done. So you do that." Something along the lines of, "Thor, you've got the thunder. Hulk, smash. Hulk smiles, etc." That whole thing.
Anyway,
we're sorry. Like I said, I threw a curveball into the mix for no good reason other than, oh shit, I forgot we were supposed to also talk about this at some point.
Right. Okay. So yeah, this is Marvel Studios' Secret Invasion official trailer. It's only about 2 minutes long.
Yeah. To begin with, I'm not the biggest fan of the Secret Invasion storyline from the comics either, so whatever harsh things I say about this concept, I direct also at the comics, because the comics were really stupid and cheesy too.
I mean, my main issue is because they've made the Skrulls a synthetic race. How does it work? Right?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Either they're gonna have to do a heel turn for the Skrulls, where oh, we were playing the sympathetic refugees, but we were actually villains the whole time, or it's gonna have to be kind of like it was at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and they're gonna be doing morally compromised shit, but for good reasons, and so it's gonna end with oh, we were the bad guys the whole time, we Earthling people who were trying to prevent our race from being infiltrated by shapeshifters, which is going to have the same problem of making or trying to make the Flag Smashers sympathetic, because it doesn't matter. justification in the abstract, really, when you consider that they were murdering people with bombs and explosives and superhuman strength and shit.
Again, I think the only one who's ever done the adaptation right is technically Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that show was amazing. Anyway,
Secret Invasion was a fairly recent storyline, so there haven't been many opportunities to adapt it. And again, that's part of it. That's part of the problem, because it was in that phase of Marvel where everything had to be a big crossover, everything had to be a world-changing event, whether it made any fucking sense at the time or not.
I mean, isn't that still a thing?
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's not like with Civil War where that was kind of the start of the problem. Secret Invasion was proposed first when that trend was already in full swing, and this is the most massive problem with Secret Invasion. The fun part of Secret Invasion, to paraphrase Grace Randolph, is the game of who was a Skrull all along. And the problem with doing the game of who was a Skrull all along in the MCU is because the MCU is very, very good at getting people attached to new characters.
Hey, Dom.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but I would ask maybe kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
We have to banana.
I mean, if you want to finish your point, please finish your point. I didn't mean. It's just again, it's like we.
Yeah. I know, but okay. What I was saying was, since the entire conceit of the MCU is we're going to give you characters worth caring about, and everyone is going to have a favorite character, and everyone is going to be equally attached to their favorite characters, and so on. You can't really pull the they were secretly a Skrull all along thing, because that brings up all sorts of continuity problems, like it did in the comic, but it was more forgivable in the comic because, in the comics, they changed continuity about 500 times by this point, so everyone was like, okay, I'll go with this. But in the MCU, everything builds on everything else, so you can't really pull the Skrull switcheroo card on anyone without bringing into question, okay, what parts of this character's journey was this character actually taking versus what parts of it was a Skrull faking it. And if you were smart, if the MCU was smart, which of late they haven't been, they would just take it and make it so that everything having to do with the things people didn't like about Phase 4 could have been a Skrull all along. But even that might take a issue, because some things that some people liked about Phase 4, other people didn't like. So, for example, if you wanted to say Doctor Strange has been a Skrull since he came back from getting snapped, that means that those people that liked Multiverse of Madness and liked it as a progression for Doctor Strange's character are getting screwed. Same thing if you do it with one. The only character that you can feasibly do this with without making everyone upset would be Captain Marvel. And if they do that, then that's basically Disney admitting they did it wrong, which will make the Twitterati upset. So,
anyway,
yeah, banana.
No.
For years?
Man, nothing.
Yeah, I hate these slow atmospheric trailers, because it's like I
wouldn't
take
be
so long to set shit up that I don't have anything to comment about.
I wouldn't be opposed to it if it was a teaser, much less more than a trailer,
Well, but even then, the line between teaser and trailer is so blurred at this point that, like, where does one end and the other begin,
Well,
basically?
how I, like, personally to myself, how I define a trailer, right?
Mm.
Is kind of usually on length, because like a minute, like 30 seconds to a minute, that's a teaser. Anything over
something basically to make people teasers are to make people ask questions or to get people in the atmosphere of the thing. Trailers are, here's what we're selling, here is the plot or the general rules of the plot. You know, here is what you can expect from this project.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I will say it's a little more vibrant in terms of the color grading. That's best I can say. Because
I mean, they got Samuel L. Jackson to do this because Nick Fury, so I'm betting they didn't lowball Samuel L. Jackson, because if they lowballed Samuel L. Jackson, then he would be sick of these motherfucking studios on these motherfucking lots, and that would be good for PR.
anyway, shall we?
Yeah, but
No.
You've been avoiding Earth, but I have called for your help plenty of other times, and you've been pretty content to let those calls go straight to voicemail.
Yeah, well, this is different. How much do you know?
okay, minor thing. Given that Marvel has been in the habit of redesigning the logo for every project they have lately, like, I would have swapped out the red for green because scroll green, but that's just me. And I would have also maybe made the Marvel, like the actual words Marvel Studios constantly like change languages because scrolls are, you know, shapeshifters and all.
That would be creative and intelligent.
But I mean, again, this might just be a case of Dalton tries to do Marvel's job for Marvel. But am I wrong that making the background scroll green and then having the like Marvel logo shapeshift would be on brand for the idea of Secret Invasion? It just seems like such a simple and obvious thing to do that it is now such a missed opportunity, and I don't know why they would. I can't believe that it took me 5 seconds to think of that, and it didn't take, or that it didn't occur to anyone who is being paid several $1,000s to think of this shit. Because I wasn't even in like a meeting or anything just now. I was just thinking in terms of, well, given the context of Scrolls and Secret Invasion, surely this idea makes sense and would be interesting and on brand, but never mind.
Thank you, Dragon Turtle.
Yeah, bless you, by the way.
That shook my bones a bit.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of those lately.
Oh.
Although lately, whenever I sneeze twice, and I don't know why that started happening.
Right. Okay, so honestly, again, I don't really have much to say because one, we're not really getting anything, and also, I think it's just kind of like it's not really grabbing me, you know.
And this is the other problem with doing like the slow burn atmospheric trailer and not giving anyone anything to go by.
What's weird is
The,
I watched.
those people that know what Secret Invasion is are wondering why the fuck no references to Secret Invasion are happening, and those people who don't know what Secret Invasion is are mostly just confused or bored because the trailer didn't give them anything to go on what Secret Invasion was.
Right. The weird thing is, you can do a slow atmospheric trailer. I might be way off on this, but I remember watching Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 trailer, and it had a slow build-up atmosphere at the beginning of the trailer.
Yeah, and you can even do a really, really quick, not really telling people much trailer, and it can work. Like, for example, the main first trailer for Independence Day was just the scene of, or just the image of the spaceship vaporizing the White House, and that one image was enough to make people go, "What the fuck is going on? I have to see this movie." And if what you're doing is showing interesting imagery or showing an interesting world, you can get away with doing the just showing like background imagery thing, because if the world you're showing off is either very large in scale or very interesting to look at, you can get away with just showing bits and pieces here and there, and that alone will be a selling point. But because street level Marvel looks basically identical to every other street level Marvel, and there's nothing here specifically to distinguish it, we're left wondering, okay, what makes Secret Invasion different from Falcon and Winter Soldier or Miss Marvel or She-Hulk or anything else? Or, this is the problem. If you're going to make each new project a new interesting thing, as well you should, then you actually have to make each individual project distinct enough that it adds new flavor or adds new context to the MCU. Because otherwise, it's like, well, this looks exactly the same as every other street level Marvel movie or show.
Not really else to say. I think you covered most of it.
That banana.
One sec. I have no new comments. Sorry. What's weird is, okay, I'm gonna get some flack for this, I'm sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know the movie itself is not good, but the teaser trailer for the Artemis Fowl movie that happened like a few years ago.
No, the first trailer was pretty good. The second one was but the first trailer was pretty good actually.
Yeah.
Because
it had a build up an atmosphere to it.
Yeah, it showed here is an interesting world that we have to play with.
Right. Anyway.
Banana.
Yeah. Come on. There we go. Banana.
Oh, about your security detail.
What do you mean, how much do I know about him?
Fury, we're gonna be very careful now.
You know what's the funny thing? I remember seeing sorry, this is me going off topic here, but I think it would have been more interesting in the universe of the MCU if they had done this. But someone had proposed a theory before a lot of things happened in the MCU. That Mary Jane was the daughter of Nick Fury. Or Michelle. Well, not Mary Jane, Michelle.
Yeah, given that this version of MJ in the MCU is a person of color.
And also her,
for lack of a better word.
her personality just seemed that of a kind of a kid who is.
Yeah, it would work if she was the daughter of Nick Fury. That would make sense.
Here's the thing: like, don't get me wrong, I like Samuel Jackson. I do. He's a great actor, and I respect the hell out of him for his work ethic and craft.
Yeah.
But the character of Nick Fury, while is cool, I don't care about him here.
Yeah, the problem is it's been so long since we've even seen Nick Fury and we don't really have any indication of what he's been doing this whole time. So, like, in the first Avengers, movie and in Captain America: Winter Soldier, he was an integral part of the proceedings. But basically, ever since then, he hasn't really, like, he didn't show up in Age of Ultron. He showed up in a post-credit scene in Infinity War, and he showed up in Captain Marvel. But the less said about that, the better. So it's like
it was like really cool Nick Fury too.
Mm-hmm.
It was It was before Nick Fury was really cool in terms of the universe, like his eye patch and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah, it was a prequel, but that's yeah. But point being, Nick Fury should honestly have remained a central character in the MCU because he was the guy who got the Avengers together and made it a priority to do so. So how has it been 3.5, 3.5 Avengers movies, since he's played an integral part? Like, this is the other thing about Nick Fury. Given that everyone on the Avengers roster also has respect for Nick Fury, you would think they would ask where he was. Like, you would think they would want to know where especially during Civil War, because you'd think one of them would want to know where Nick fell on the whole Sokovia Accords issue. And honestly, Nick Fury would have been an excellent person to add in for Civil War. Now, granted, Civil War was an amazing movie regardless, and honestly, you could have cut out Zemo's whole plot entirely because it didn't really need a villain. The debate between Cap and Tony, between Cap and Tony was enough.
I am willing to argue that without Zemo, don't get me wrong, I think just a movie of a debate kind of thing. I don't think.
Yeah, they're having what effectively amounts to a political disagreement because it matters to both of them.
Right. But without Zemo, it wouldn't have pushed towards violence and that more fracturing of.
I mean, but there could have been other instigating. There could have been other instigating factors.
Fair. That's completely fair. But I am willing to at least let.
No. I'm to be fair. I'm splitting hairs with regards to Zemo because all I'm saying is the dichotomy between Cap and Tony's opinions on the Sokovia Accords would have been enough. But if we're gonna add something to Civil War rather than taking it out, I did wonder where the hell is Nick Fury and on what side does he stand with this? And even if it was a case of they both tried to recruit him and he decided to stay out of it, it still would have been nice to see him again and be reminded, oh yeah, he's the guy they all respect and he's the guy who got them together. So obviously something like this, he's going to be brought. And what would have Nick Fury's reaction been to Tony recruiting Spider-Man? Speaking of implications.
I don't know.
Because I could see it going one of two ways. I could see it going the route of Nick being kind of flattered because Tony recruits Spidey in the same way that Nick recruited all the rest of them. Or I could see Nick being really pissed off because you're recruiting an underage kid to be a member of a superhero team.
Right. Anyway.
Yeah, banana.
Banana.
You're in no shape for this fight that lies before us. This is just the beginning.
And see, this is gonna once again be the problem with what they did to the Skrulls in Captain Marvel by making them refugees instead of infiltrators. This atmosphere would work if they had done the Skrulls as they originally were, as infiltrators, as a race of shapeshifting spies. But because they went the sympathetic route and made them refugees instead of conquerors, we now have to ask ourselves the question of, were they lying when they said they were refugees, in which case that completely changes the entire context of the Captain Marvel movie, or is it going to once again be like with the Flag Smashers in Falcon and Winter Soldier, where everyone on Earth is going to freak the fuck out about the Skrulls, and it's going to turn out the Skrulls were the victims rather than the villains the whole time, and then someone, probably Nick Fury, is going to have to make the equivalent speech of, "You've got to do better, Senator." That was so fucking stupid. But they might be making that mistake again. So who the fuck knows?
I thought there was a few times, I thought there was a few times they depicted the Skrulls as good guys, not just in Captain Marvel, but also in stuff like in Far From Home.
No, but that's the thing. The Skrulls first appeared in Captain Marvel, and so how they were depicted in Captain Marvel impacts how they're depicted everywhere else because it's their first appearance in the MCU.
I mean, to be fair,
normally the Skrulls are a race of parasitic conquerors who use their powers of shapeshifting to stealthily conquer planets, in a invasion of the body snatcher sort of way. But in the MCU, they literally made them a one-to-one comparison for displaced refugees.
Right. I mean, to be fair, if I remember in the comics, they aren't without their sympathies. But
they're not cartoon villains. Like, they're not just one-dimensionally evil.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, the reason why they became so like aggressive in terms of like conquering
is because they kept losing their homeworlds.
Yeah.
But that doesn't excuse them for being a race of shapeshifting conquerors.
It doesn't. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
it just turns them into something kind of equivalent to the Viltrumites, actually, where the Viltrumites try to conquer using brute force because they're stronger than everything. The Skrulls conquer using stealth, and essentially by the time you've noticed that 90% of your planet's population are Skrulls, they've already won, and therefore they can drop the facade and basically your world is now a Skrull world, and the few remaining people are either going to integrate to Skrull society, or they're going to be slaves, because that's how that works.
Right. Okay. So giant turtle. They might be able to both make the Skrulls in a position where they had to invade, or at least compromise or invade, and they chose the latter, making themselves bad guys. What will actually happen? Probably they'll lecturing humans to be less xenophobic thing.
Again, I'm both terrified by the notion that, and I'm entirely convinced that it's going to be a few Skrulls shapeshift in order to integrate into society in a way that's not exactly not in a way that's morally gray. The sort of international bureaucracy that is SHIELD or SWORD are going to freak the fuck out because, oh, we're being infiltrated, and then it's going to turn out at the last second that they were just looking for a place to hide, and that the humans were the villains all along, and the Skrulls actually are these sympathetic refugee characters. In the same way that even though the Flag Smashers were very much supervillain Antifa in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and literally destroyed various buildings with bombs, killed several people, and stole super soldier serum, and then proceeded to abuse people with the powers they gained from said super soldier serum. Even though that was all the case, there was still the speech from Sam Wilson at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they were just put upon victims the whole time, and you've got to do better, Senator.
Okay.
Yeah, so I could easily see them do with refugees what they did with Antifa in Falcon and Winter Soldier. In which case I would be annoyed, but it would at least be consistent with the stupidity of how they've portrayed the Skrulls so far.
Anyway.
It would really, really freaking annoy me, but it would be consistent with the stupidity that's already been established.
Right. Ironically, you could just... The easiest thing would have been is like the Skrulls that we've seen is simply just a faction of the Skrulls.
I mean, you could do that, but number one, I'm not sure they're competent enough to do that, and number two,
actually, funny enough, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
The Skrull, like societal structure in the comics was literally an empire. That's why Teddy is royalty now. That's why Hulkling is royalty now, because he's the son of the crown prince of the Skrulls. So he's or the king of the Skrulls, and therefore he's technically a prince. That makes Wiccan the prince consort, which I do enjoy that aspect of their relationship. It's cute, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm just thinking, like, I actually thought of that idea.
Yeah. Either they'd have to change the Skrulls around so that there are multiple cultures on their planet, or they'd have to change Hulkling's backstory, and neither of these am I okay with, really.
To be fair, I think the former is better than the latter, to be completely honest.
I mean, yeah, they've already laid this Skrulls as analogous to refugees bed, and now they have to lie in it.
Yeah.
Or they could. There is another option, but it's not an option they would ever actually use, which is, what if the Skrulls we met in Captain Marvel were lying? They pretended to be poor put upon victim refugees, and in actuality they were the stealth shape-shifting conquerors the Skrulls have always been. That would be one way to go about it, but because they made the Skrulls in Captain Marvel a one-to-one analogy for refugees, I'm pretty sure that if you suggested that to modern-day Marvel writers, they would go, "Ew, that might imply that refugees are bad people, maybe."
Okay, so Chrononaut. I'm gonna read these two here, and then move on. Okay. Chrononaut. Hello. They have dropped the ball so many times, not including TV and Netflix with the movies. I mean, I don't really have anything to say that. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And Dragon Turtle, do you want them touching Hulkling and Wiccan right now?
I mean, on paper, there's absolutely no reason for them to screw around with my boys because they're already gay and they're already a couple and they're already cute. But because I know how social justice works and I know it's not enough for characters to simply occupy these demographics, they have to occupy the platonic ideal within the context of social justice of these demographics. I don't fucking know because I would have said no if they had done America Chavez more like she was in the comics, but they fixed her. And they also fixed Kate Bishop and they also fixed Kamala Khan to some degree. So
well, to be completely fair, Kate Bishop was a character that existed before the SJW stuff. Got fucked over like Bobby Drake.
right, but they kind of unfucked her while still playing the character that was established as it lied. But my point being, Marvel is when the actors are on the same page, good at fixing these SJW characters so that they're not SJW anymore. And given that Hulkling and Wiccan aren't really SJW characters to begin with, they just happen to be gay, it would be very easy just to do, the cutest gay couple in comics, aren't they so adorable? And everyone would be happy. But there's also the possibility that someone with SJW tendencies might get a hold of them, and then I would die eternally, and maybe just die literally, depending on how bad it was.
All right. Okay. All right. Last comment, Giant Turtle, and then we're getting back to the trailer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever specify why they were refugees? Maybe they are exiles from the real Skrull Empire for putting morality over royalty.
That also could be a possibility. The Skrulls we met in Captain Marvel were non-compliant with the Empire, and then that's why they got kicked out.
Also, Don, you are forgetting something of the complication of introducing Hulkling to the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
We already have Marvel in Captain Marvel. Who they changed.
But you could just make his mom a female Skrull, and then, or well, actually, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Skrulls are shapeshifters.
Oh my god.
They can. I mean, not to be too gross about it, but there was that one dude in Sci-Fi's The Magicians who was a traveler from an incubus dimension, and he could adapt his anatomy however he wanted.
Dalton. Moving on.
Yeah.
Banana.
Yeah, banana.
This is my war alone. And I'm the last person standing between them and what they really want. And what is that?
And again, that's a cool line. I'm just not sure how they're gonna play it within the context of the MCU now.
This just feels like a very generic spy thriller.
Trailer. Yeah, a very generic, like almost Jason Bourne-ish spy thriller.
Yeah,
which works for Nick Fury, and it would even work with the concept of, our species has been infiltrated by shapeshifters, and we don't know which of them are. Like, even Doctor Who kind of did something similar to the Skrulls with the Zygons in the two-part episode, the Saigon Invasion and the Saigon Inversion. And they actually did kind of manage to make these Zygon sympathetic refugee type characters without making their villainy okay. My problem is, especially with regards to the shows in the Marvel Universe, they have this track record now of making villains sympathetic because the writers happen to agree with the worldview of said villains, i.e., the Flag Smashers are very much and very intentionally a one-to-one supervillain representation of Antifa, but because the writers are on Antifa's side, they want us to sympathize with Antifa and see them as the villains,
right,
or victims rather than the villains.
anyway,
And I could see the writers of Secret Invasion doing something similar with the refugee crisis and the Skrulls, given that the refugee connection has already been set up by the stupidity of Captain Marvel.
All right. Got like 16 seconds left, so.
Banana.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah, I only have. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna mute myself for a second so I can set up the next one.
Okay. Yeah, my only issues are the idea of Secret Invasion is inherently stupid to begin with, and there are massive complications with doing Secret Invasion in the MCU particularly, and the Skrulls have been set up in such a way that the resolution of this might be very, very annoying indeed. And even if they fix the Skrulls, there's a continuity issue because they went out of their way to make the Skrulls sympathetic in Captain Marvel and in Spider-Man No Way Home. So either the Skrulls are going to have to do a heel turn, which would be a cool storyline, but it wouldn't be appropriate within the social justice / modern Hollywood framework, and it would make the Twitterati upset, even though it would be a good storyline. Or they're gonna have to do the thing where those silly humans are so paranoid. We were the good guys all along, don't you know?
Okay.
And then the you need to do better, Senator thing happens again.
Because those people who say that stupid shit aren't taking into account the context of the MCU during this Secret Invasion thing. Is that Earth has gone through a good dozen alien invasions or world-ending scenarios in the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
Well, near 2 decades.
Here's the other interesting part about doing Secret Invasion specifically post Endgame. We are in a situation where half of the people in the world, in the universe, used to be missing. So if you wanted to pick a place for there to be a Skrull switcheroo situation, during the revival of Endgame, having several of the people who got brought back be replaced with Skrulls would make perfect sense. But then again, because continuity is everything in the MCU, and there are people both for and against everything post Endgame, you're going to have to tread very carefully who you say was a Skrull all along and who you don't, because if you Skrullify the wrong character, then you're going to have a bunch of people be pissed off. And if you don't Skrullify the right character, you're going to have a bunch of people pissed off.
Right. Anyway, shall we move on to something that might kill our souls a bit?
Well, you know.
For the record, didn't you send me this?
Yes.
Yeah, so I blame you.
Yep, that's fair. That's entirely fair. I'm an asshole, and I don't deny it.
Also, somewhat masochistic. But yeah,
I sometimes enjoy beating the shit out of terrible things. So
yeah. So this is okay. So apparently it's not that. It's a sneak peek, even though the show's been out already. I had called it the mid-season trailer, but apparently I was wrong on that. So
yeah, it's a way for She-Hulk to allegedly get hype for the next half of the season, which granted isn't gonna work because the
I've
ratings for She-Hulk are shit. But that's not.
I watched this like briefly, and I ended up skipping through some of it, like skimming it.
Yeah.
I hardly ever do that with a trailer.
When you're skimming through a trailer, it's not a good sign.
Yeah, I've never done that with any other trailer. And again, it's not even like a thing I don't want to dislike this show because I've done research into the character. She's a cool character. It's just this depiction of her is not good.
It's very much the Batwoman problem.
Oh,
the character in the freaking comics was interesting and compelling and well-rounded. The character they decided to make her in the show is shit and feministy when it shouldn't be. And once again, I want to make it perfectly clear. The thing I have a problem with is the ideology and worldview of feminism, not women, not femininity, not womanhood or some kind of female collective. What I have a problem with is the ideology of feminism that tries to weaponize the demographic as though they are the people who speak for the female hive mind. Because there's a massive difference between a character who happens to simply be female, simply be a woman, versus a a female character who is built from the ground up to be an avatar of or be compliant with feminist ideology and or philosophy.
Right. I mean, to be completely honest, there are male characters I despise just simply on merit.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good, well-rounded, or interesting characters.
I'm trying to think of like an example. It's a bit difficult because I usually just surround myself with good stuff, so I never really get to see terrible shit.
Yeah, he doesn't suffer along with the rest of us as good things we love are ruined slowly but surely in front of our eyes, like a crashing Hindenburg. The closest thing he's come to that is Batwoman, because I insisted that he suffered through watching Batwoman, which he shall never forgive me for, and I don't blame him. And then it got worse because he actually did research into the character of Batwoman in the comics and found that when she's just a female character rather than a feminist character, she's awesome. But they didn't want the character as she was presented. They wanted a feminist avatar character. Anyway, Zucchini.
Sorry, I'm trying to think of a male character I don't like. In terms of pop culture, like, hello, Giant Toll, good to see you back.
Yeah, he stepped away for a second while you were thinking, and now he's back. But point being, whenever
Ultimate Spider-Man from Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man.
Well, okay, you don't, but that's not even a good analogy, because that's just neutral lack of quality.
Well, no, I mean, I think it's similar because it's a good character that wasn't given good enough treatment.
Well, I mean that's fair enough, but what I mean is, in the case of feminism, or in the case of feminist characters, you'd have to pick something that was from that was warped by another moralistic ideology. For example, Professor Ratigan from the movie God's Not Dead is a terrible, terrible character.
Professor Ratigan. That was played by pretty
Kevin
famous
Sorbo, yes, the guy who played Hercules in Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. Yes.
No, I didn't dislike that character.
Really?
Okay, so I think it was just the scene where he explained why he doesn't believe in God. Where, like, he had to suffer this terrible tragedy, and I think on some level I kind of resonated with that. I'm not going to get into that, obviously.
That's fair. But my point is that is an example of a character being nerfed, not by some kind of failure to live up to some kind of male collective or some bullshit like that, but by specifically moralistic ideologies getting in the way of quality. Not just lack of quality, but deliberate fucking over of quality for moralistic bullshit reasons.
Oh. Well, okay, again, this is on merit of why I don't like this character. And it goes into a whole thing of, like, a certain genre that I dislike. This was actually back in the days when I still watched anime pretty regularly. I don't know if anyone knows this anime, but Rosario Vampire.
The name is somewhat familiar. I know nothing off the top of my head about it.
It was a harem anime. For the record, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was at the time, but I hated the main character. To be fair, I hate harem anime overall, just because I think it's a very stupid, tropey genre.
I don't mind the concept of harem anime, but I also haven't ever seen it done well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Also, apparently, the manga, because it's based off a manga, the anime, it was actually
most anime are based off manga.
It wasn't a harem story. It was a shonen action series.
So wait, they changed the genre in the anime?
Yeah,
that's really, really fucking weird.
Yeah, right?
Why? What the fuck?
Yeah. Also, okay, for the record, it was kind of like that time before, like, I really hit puberty, so the fan service elements of that show never affected me.
You're like, I don't have a sexuality yet. I don't understand why this is happening.
Well, that, and also it's egregious, Not egregious.
Well, I mean,
it's overplayed,
Japan gonna Japan. They are. Although, to be fair, Japanese expression of sexuality is weird because some aspects of sexuality they will go absolutely balls to the wall over the top on, but on other things they have these really weird arbitrary hang-ups.
Huh. Yeah, anyway, yeah, we wouldn't went, but yeah.
Yeah, but my point in bringing up the comparison between She-Hulk and God's Not Dead was it can't even be analogized in terms of just a lack of quality, because in the case of art that bends to a moralistic ideology, be it tradcon family values bullshit in the case of God's Not Dead, or feminism specifically third wave intersectional feminism in the case of She-Hulk, it's deliberately defying quality in the name of the higher authority of our morality.
Right. Anything else to add over?
Yeah. No, zucchini.
Sorry, it's just janitorial responded to what I said, and I do want to answer that before, so I am going to answer that, and then we're going to go into the. All right. For a second, I thought you were saying that about all anime. No. Either way, haven't really seen a harem anime yet, but I imagine that it would either need to have very good characters/dynamics, or the harem part being secondary to something else.
The problem with harem anime is the problem with every like romance story is if it's done well, the characters are extremely compelling and their relationship is extremely compelling. if it's not done well, then it's just softcore porn with no other rationale behind it.
Right.
And like I said, while I am sure that good harem anime exists, I've never seen a good harem anime as yet.
Yeah. I think the thing that always bugs me is that the main character can never choose. Or if they do, they choose like the one that is like the most basic bitch when there are more interesting characters.
I can't, like I said, I can't speak to that because I don't make up. Despite my addiction to romance stories, a la Wattpad and romance ASMR, I don't watch a whole lot of romantic anime.
I mean, honestly, I don't watch anime.
Mostly because I find myself romantically attracted to the protagonist of shonen anime. Like, for example, I would bang every single member of the Joestar family in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Of course you would.
I defy you to have any problem with that because trust me,
it's not surprising that you would want to. That's what I'm saying. You know, because I know you enough to know that.
Yeah, another problem with romance anime is they conflate being romantic with being as feminine as possible, and as I've often said, someone has got to be the top. Damn it!
Okay,
So
we're moving on.
Where are the characters that those of us who want someone more masculine can cling to?
We're moving on.
Of course, the answer is in shonen anime. But anyway, Zucchini.
Strength is beauty. Beauty is strength. What makes you beautiful? She-Hulk by Titania.
This is the person who legally outmaneuvered you? Yeah. Why didn't you trademark your own pseudonym? Why would I? Did Doctor Strange have to trademark his name? Did Thor?
I mean, that's a fair point, to be honest.
No, it isn't. Those are actually their names.
Actually, I do think they bring that up.
Doctor Strange is not a superhero identity. His name is Dr. Stephen Strange, and he is a doctor.
Yeah.
And also a metaphorical doctor of magic now.
See, here's the thing. This interests me, but I know they're not going to pay focus to this.
They didn't. The episode that this is in relation to just premiered.
Of fucking course.
And yeah, this amounted to sweet butt fuck all. Because okay, the problem, and since we're doing this, we'll do this. Is Jen has been complaining about the name She-Hulk since episode 1. Like, she doesn't like being called She-Hulk. She finds it belittling because she finds it to be this version of Jen finds it to be misogynistic because of course a female with the powers of an already established male gets called the she version of him and so on. So she's hated the concept of the She-Hulk name for basically every episode since she got her powers. But because Titania thought ahead and trademarked the name She-Hulk, now Jen is feeling protective of it because I don't like this name, but if I have to have it, it's mine and I want it, and you know, I didn't want to be called this thing, but now that we're in this room, I'm not gonna let someone else take it from me.
Right.
Which is fair to some degree. It's annoying because she literally wanted to get away from the She-Hulk name just last episode.
Granny Turtle Spartans would say both can be the super masculine parts.
No, they wouldn't. The Greeks were very particular about top and bottom.
Okay. No, we're not. Okay. No, I'm sorry. It's just.
In fact, they didn't. Let me finish the sentence. they didn't really offer, or they didn't really focus much on the distinction between straight and gay and whatever else. Their main consideration was, are you the person doing the fucking in the relationship, or are you the person being fucked in the relationship?
Okay. Yeah, it's just like, it's a weird topic to talk about when we're talking about like other things.
Meanwhile, Brainstormer is quietly envisioning banging She-Hulk.
No, I feel nothing for She-Hulk. I think she's interesting as a character. Like I told you this, man. I have no attraction. Like Wonder Woman, sure, but Jennifer Walters, like in the comics.
The problem with She-Hulk is she sleeps around. Yes, we've had this conversation.
She's a party girl, right? That's just not my kind of life.
And you want a meaningful relationship, which is fair. I'm just saying that, one, I think you could convince her to stay with you, because
no, that would, again, let's get into the whole thing. I'm not, anyway. I'm not reading that Dragon Troll. Y'all have dirty minds around here.
We have discovered long stones that
topic between yourselves when we are not on work time.
All I'm saying is they did Dragon Turtle, or at least we have evidence to suggest they use things accordingly.
Y'all are degenerates. Y'all are degenerates.
You're goddamn right.
How is it that, no, I'm not even surprised that I am actually the more pure one, I guess.
Because you are a cinnamon roll, my friend. You are free to be a cinnamon roll, but never let it be said you are anything other than a freaking cinnamon roll.
Also, if we're being specific, this version of She-Hulk I would not like to date at all.
No, because she's a bitch. But yeah. But I more meant the fun and vivacious version of She-Hulk, the one that's actually in the comics.
Good friends at the very least. I just don't see myself like. It's like with Ty Lee, I just don't really.
I mean that's fair. Although, as your friend and as someone who knows you quite well, I think that I think the problem with Jen is she's just never met anyone worth staying for. I think if she met someone like you, who is a Captain America-esque cinnamon roll, you guys could make a long-term relationship work just fine. And she is physically, at least, your type, and personality-wise.
All right. Yeah, not if SCW is right.
Yeah. Just the problem again is the difference between a female character and a feminist character, and unfortunately, MCU She-Hulk is very much a feminist power fantasy character.
Right. Chrononauts, I assume we need to have Frost guest star to argue over the perverted viewers.
No. No.
Who's? Oh, was she that? Is that
the woman who was bitching about misogyny because she was bad at her job and people called her out for being bad at her job in a gaming thing?
Right, we covered that, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay. That was a while ago, so my mind. Honestly, I don't remember a lot of the stuff we covered.
The one who basically told on her coworkers by saying,
I remember.
You guys think I'm special because I don't know how to do this? Well, no one knows how to do this. Everyone gets scripts written for them, and then that backfired by resulting in everyone losing faith in the whole enterprise because we want to hear people's actual opinions rather than the opinions that have been wrote for them.
Anyway.
Yeah, zucchini.
Zucchini.
You chose two examples of people who use their real names.
I'm still Jennifer Walters. She-Hulk is just a thing that happened to me.
You said you didn't like the name She-Hulk.
I don't. I do admit, though, there are parts of it that I enjoy. The amazing hair, no hangover.
I don't have anything to say because I don't know.
This is literally just a scene from the show that has already premiered.
I haven't seen it, to be fair, so.
I have, because I have this stupid completionist mentality whereby if I start watching something, then I have to finish watching it. And Eglantine wanted to do a react and review to the first episode, which meant that I had to watch the first episode, which meant that I had to actually go ahead and watch the whole goddamn fucking thing. And okay, I'm gonna tell you something that is gonna piss you off in particular, Brainstormer. The MCU, in the form of She-Hulk, has ripped off Edna Mode. In the most recent episode, they have Jen and her paralegal BFF there go to this one fashion designer dude who specializes in superhero outfits, and he's basically Edna Mode's crappier younger brother, basically.
Not so much angered by it. I'm just more so unsurprised and maybe a little disappointed.
Yeah. I
did see that scene. I actually saw that scene.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like briefly, again, I skimmed through it. I was just bored. I was like on my phone, just scrolling and stuff, and then I saw that clip. And then I watched clips of Stargirl, which is a far better superhero show with a good female protagonist.
Spots the difference. Stargirl, She-Hulk. Stargirl, She-Hulk.
I would recommend people see that. It's on its third season now.
I still need to get caught up with Stargirl.
Yeah, same here.
Anyway, zucchini.
One sec. Also, the music. It's not like that. It's kind of turning me off to it. You know, just because I'm not big on that kind of music.
The show was made by 30-year-old wine moms for 30-year-old wine moms. It seems, because this is how you know the quality of writing that is involved here. Because a lot of the annoying things I see in She-Hulk are the same things that annoy me in bad rom-coms. It's like a really bad redo of Sex and the City, and I don't like it. Because like I have a bit of a soft spot for Sex and the City because, you know, I'm me and also gay. But there were aspects of that kind of indulgent female power fantasy bullshit that pisses me off. And it's like they got rid of all the camp that I enjoy about those kind of things, or all of the actual likable characters and intrigue that I enjoy about those kind of things, and left only the annoying, self-indulgent, upper middle class female power fantasy bullshit that I hate in those kind of shows.
Tonight's actually, I am working on a. I haven't gone to yet because I have other things to do, other things I'm working on. But I've actually started a document of a rewrite of She-Hulk Attorney at Law, which would actually focus on the attorney part,
and also the character as she was in the comics.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the kind of things. Those are the kind of things we do on Thursdays when Brainstorm and I just sit and talk about ideas for writing. Most of it is either lion-hearted or avarice related, because those are specifically the concepts we want to do something with someday. But sometimes it's about the random rewrites and fan fictions and things that Brainstormer does.
I also have a Doctor Strange one in the works, and a Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in the works, and that's I have like a whole folder dedicated to my Marvel rewrites. Currently,
he constantly comes up with new ideas, and then he tells me about them, and then I poke them slightly, and then boom, we have a whole new universe.
I'm also working on a Spider-Man No Way Home one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it could have been done so much better. Anyway, that's not important.
Yeah. Anyway, zucchini.
So okay, yep, zucchini.
Being able to walk home at night without being afraid.
You put on your green suit.
Put on my green suit?
Yeah, jolly green yourself. I don't know what you call it.
Hulking out.
Okay, good. Whatever.
Trouble's gonna find you. Weird, unexpected trouble.
Again, this music just it doesn't.
And once again, we have straw man male character being an idiot on basically because the writers think that's how men exist. And I'm fairly certain the phrase hulking out has appeared in the MCU before, because that's what everyone calls it. So
also,
this guy is extra stupid for not knowing what hulking out is.
Also, Hulk said Hulk out to those kids in Endgame after the 5 years.
Yeah, so yeah, this is an established thing both in universe and out of the universe. So this guy is an idiot par excellence for not knowing the phrase Hulk out. Or alternatively, and I think this is the route that the writers want us to go, is he thought that she would have a different word because female, which is just, again, the writing being very, very misinterest, because men be overconfident, asinine, and stupid, don't you know, herder.
And also, I want to say this, it just all looks really bland. Like the coloring, the shots. Yep. There's no creativity here.
Yeah, add filters. These are things I could fix on my phone if you gave me 5 minutes.
They're wearing bright pink, and yet it all looks so desaturated.
It's washed out. There's no actual pop to the color and no actual atmosphere in the background.
You would imagine, it's just this thing I've noticed with just comic book stuff in recent years. Again, specifically Marvel, but there are some that,
I mean, for all of his faults, M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable was very, very good at playing with comic book colors.
Yeah.
And I bring this up for a very good reason, namely that if M. Night freaking Shyamalan can manage to do this correctly, the man who took one of the greatest Western animes ever, i.e. Avatar: The Last Airbender, and turned it into the just abortion of everything good about my childhood that was the Last Airbender. If he can pick up on the necessity of color in comic booky shit and in shit in general, then surely the many, many thousands of people or hundreds of people who work for Marvel Studios should be able to fucking although this is a Hollywood thing in general lately, because despite the fact that we have access to more ways to portray color than ever we have before in cinematic history, everyone has just forgotten how camera filters work, and it bothers me.
You know the weirdest thing is, you don't even have to do much here. I'm going off my limited knowledge I remember from.
Again, I'm just going off of shit that I could do with my phone. I could take a picture of this and put 2 or 3 filters over it, and it would pop automatically.
You don't even have to do a filter. You can literally just go to saturation and bump it up maybe 25.
Yeah.
Or so.
But regardless, it's something that can be resolved either by the simple camera settings themselves or by adjusting the filters post. And if I can do that with a single shot with my phone, and there are camera apps that will let you do it with everything you do on a camera with video, then surely Hollywood, with all of its technology and all of its money, and people whose specific job it is to deal with camera shit, it surely doesn't take much to just go, oh, if I tweak the camera in this way, it will make things saturated and will make the color pop more. Durr.
Right. Yeah, and again, like the lack of creativity. I'm not even just talking about the color, like the camera work, just
again, the 5 seconds of effort that could have taken this from annoying to actually quite good.
Even the sets are lackluster.
Yeah. Which again you could resolve very easily by using camera work effectively.
Right. One thing is, I've seen like I'm sure everyone here knows who Key and Peele are, right?
Yes.
Remember their show? Key and Peele.
Uh-huh.
Their comedy show, Key and Peele did the sketch movies and all.
Mm-hmm.
Like all those sketches, they have like a lot of effort and creativity put into it, and also like saturated and colorful and stuff when needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been watching a few of them every now and then, and I burst out laughing. By the way, this is supposed to be a comedy, right?
Yeah.
Not one fucking chuckle.
Yeah, that's a consistent problem with the entire. Okay, so again, spoilers and also criticism here. There was a scene in the most recent episode of She-Hulk, which this clip is taken from, where because Jen wants to get the trademark for She-Hulk back, she has to prove that she's been using it longer than Titania has had the trademark for it. Which she immediately jumps to think about her dating profile because she made a dating app on a very transparent parody of like Tinder, where she used She-Hulk to get dates. So in order to prove this, she calls up all of the bad dates she's had on this Tinder app since she started using it. And you would think that this would be a perfect excuse for everyone to dress down She-Hulk because these guys know like intimate details of Jen's sex life, and they could use that to make fun of her, and it would be very funny. But no, that entire scene goes by, and not one single joke is made of anything to do with She-Hulk's sex life. Like no one is injured from having sex with her. No one, remarks about how forceful she is in bed. No one,
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because I just remember two things from two different shows that did this in a comedic effect.
Mm-hmm.
Lucifer, where a bunch of past sexual partners he's had come in to be interviewed. And like it's just a montage of them saying like had the best night of their lives and that Lucifer did this thing.
Yeah, because he's good at delivering pleasure, because he's good at indulging in sin, because he's the devil.
Right. And the other one, because you brought up the injured bone injuries and stuff thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
A quick little gag that I believe was in an episode of the new season of The Orville, where John Lamar, who is a character in that show, and Tala, I believe her name is.
Yeah, the woman from the planet with fuck off gravity.
Yeah, and is basically super strong, and ends up every time they end up being very intimate and having sex, that she ends up basically breaking like bones. Like at the end, when they finally decide that they can't be together simply because of physical differences, his face is so bruised that basically his eyes are swollen shut.
Honestly, my dude, if it were me, I advise just endurance, my dude, because that sounds to me like you are having a good time.
You are. I'm on the fence about that, and
Okay, Mr. I love all the Amazon. Tell me that you would make that choice
not all
and
the.
wouldn't just suck it up for the enjoyment of it.
Don't put words in my mouth. I don't love all Amazons. I like Wonder Woman. Okay.
Uh-huh. And you like women who can spar with you, and you like women who can kick your ass, and my point is you like forceful women who can.
You're okay. Fuck off. Entirely. But okay, point being is I remember those scenes and I got chuckles out of it.
And you would think that a important scene in this comedy show episode involves She-Hulk's past conquests, and never once does anyone talk about how awkward it was because they got injured, or talk about how he had to go to the chiropractor to fix his spine after they banged, or nothing like that. This entire scene goes by without a single joke being made in relation to this. Ever.
Okay, was there at least a big number of guys there?
I want to say it was like 10, maybe.
Okay, that's it. Okay, that's fucking what the fuck.
And to be fair, like only 3 of them had even had sex with her. Like most of the dates ended before they even had sex.
Anyway, visual comedy is a thing, folks.
Yeah, the only joke, and I use that term in the largest like air quotes that could reach from the bottom of the Mariana Trench to the nearest Earth satellite. The only joke, or what passes for one, came at the expense of one of the guys that Jen had dated, because he was upset that he swiped right on She-Hulk and had to wake up next to Jen the next morning because she had sold herself as She-Hulk and she didn't explain that she transformed afterwards. So when he woke up next to Jen the following morning, he realized that he has a lot in common with She-Hulk, but not as much in common with Jennifer Walters, and that makes him an idiot according to the show's logic.
Anyway.
Never mind that she misrepresented herself and never explained how She-Hulk works. But he is a misogynistic douche nozzle because he likes She-Hulk but doesn't like Jennifer Walters.
Right.
And that's the only joke they had, and it was at the expense of one of the guys rather than at the expense of the absurdity of She-Hulk.
Dragon Turtle. I imagine there are acts they could do in bed that wouldn't result in the trauma. Why continue that? Who knows why people do what they do in bed, man?
Yeah, that was the other thing I was thinking about the orbital thing was. So let Lamar be the active one. Like if you're worried about breaking him, then let him be the active one so that he doesn't get broken, and then you can still be together.
Huh. You know what? No, I'm not entertaining that. We're moving on. I'd like to keep somewhat of my innocence whatever shreds are left of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you've known me for a long time, and you've also been exposed to corrupt. That innocence there has taken a beating.
I wasn't even referring to that, but okay.
Anyway, zucchini.
Zucchini.
Why aren't you answering a mobile phone?
I'll be right back. Life would be so much easier if I was just Jen.
I think you're in a unique position to do some real good. Jen Walters can use the law to help people when society fails them. She-Hulk can help people when the law fails them.
Okay, that's an interesting line. I haven't seen that episode yet. Maybe there is hope for this show after all.
It is Daredevil. As of right now.
Oh, you're right. That is Matt. So they might actually manage to have Daredevil as a guest star without making him look like an idiot or a misogynist. Who knew? And actually, I kind of love that now. The idea that She-Hulk was mentored by Daredevil. That's a really cool concept. I really hope they don't fuck it up. But we're 5 episodes in, and they fucked everything else up. So up to and including Wong being an idiot, apparently. So,
I'm not being ignorant. I just kind of find it a waste of time to talk about this stuff when we got other we're in the second topic and we got like 3 others to cover. I just don't want to go on side tangents relating to, I guess, sex or something. I just don't want to waste time here because we're just kind of. I want to get through these.
Yeah. Anyway, zucchini.
Yeah. I do like the costume for Daredevil because they're doing like the yellow and red suit.
Yeah. And apparently, according to the most recent episode, that new suit is being manufactured by Discount Edna Mode's little brother.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, John.
Yep. Zucchini.
Guys, really kind of doing it for me. Big image.
Oh, did you get a ticket for texting? Just say you were texting 911. They can't prosecute.
That isn't what this is, and that's not true.
Oh my god, that was so bad.
The episode that they referenced at the end there is apparently there was this former apprentice at Carmartage who quit after like the first week, but they let him keep the sling ring because fuck off reasons, and he decided to take up stage magic, but used real magic as like his like closer for the act, and so he would open a portal to different dimensions, and he would make people quote unquote disappear by shoving them through another dimension. And one of the people he made disappear, quote unquote, wound up in a hell dimension and sold her soul to sold something to a demon, and so Wong contracts Jen to basically force this sorcery apprentice turned stage magician guy to stop using real sorcery and techniques that he learned at Carmartage as part of his act. And in the process, Wong and this girl that this sorcery apprentice turned stage magician shoved into another dimension become friends. And her whole character's joke is she's a ditzy Jersey Shore Valley girl, and yet she hangs out with Wong.
Oh god, I hate Valley girls.
Yeah, no, she's annoying, and yet they used her character to sell the trailer for last week's episode where that happened. So apparently, again, this is a show written by 30-year-old suburban moms for 30-year-old suburban moms, apparently.
Okay. I don't know. You want to skip the article or you want to?
It surely shouldn't take that long.
Okay. It's not too long. I just did a quick run through. It's actually mostly. It has like.
It's one of the ones they pad out with pictures and shit, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Twitter posts. So.
Okay.
I don't think I'm gonna like read all of those simply because like. I think it's just kind of dumb. Anyway. Yeah. So relating to She-Hulk, because Dawn sent me this, right? You sent me this.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. I actually thought he sent me this to cover last week, but I think we just really stocked up on that last week. So
yeah, lately things have been moving. Like we haven't really had to hunt much for stuff to cover. Stuff to cover has just kind of happened.
Right, see you later, Dragon Turtle. He had to go.
All right, see you, Dragon Turtle.
Yeah. All right, that's a shame. Gonna miss this one. Oh, it's fun. This is from john.daily.com. Say that 5 times fast.
I mean, I would, but we don't have time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and also I gotta get up early because there's an appointment I have to make for my family. So, anyway, imagine the franchise you love mocking you. She-Hulk trolls misogynistic Marvel fans. September 2nd. This was published September 2nd, 2022. I don't think it doesn't say who wrote it. I think.
Okay.
But yeah.
Moving on.
Well, I did want to point out the title. That's an assertion and.
Yeah, the assumption that there are enough misogynistic Marvel fans to say so, and that the show is actually mocking them, rather than the show assuming that people whose criticisms are motivated by things other than misogyny are misogynistic. Because the only way people could like the thing we're doing is because they're misogynistic, hateful, closed-minded bastards, rather than actually having criticism. Right. No, we're not going to actually address the criticism. We're just going to assume you're hateful and closed-minded and shitty.
Right. Again, if you guys want to read the whole thing, or if I miss like Twitter posts that are there, I'm going to cover.
They're in the description.
Yeah. I'm going to cover the ones that I had seen that I think are worth discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So, just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Moving forward.
Yeah. But also, right. Just one more thing about the title. I believe on Twitter, I hate saying that, but there are many female Twitter accounts.
Yeah, there are plenty of female people who don't like She-Hulk, because again, feminism doesn't have a monopoly on the concept of womankind or womanhood or whatever.
Yeah, I should have said women. Why did I say female? That's so stupid. My brain is not here.
Yeah, there are women who also mock She-Hulk mercilessly because it is shit, and because feminism as an ideology does not speak for womankind.
Right.
Because
and,
once again, my favorite. Returning to my favorite chestnut, identities, particularly of the demographic variety, are not teams.
Right. Moving on?
Yep.
Okay. For so long, movies and TV based on superhero comics centered on straight white male heroes. Now that the needle is moving ever so slightly to give heroes who don't fit into that dully familiar box a moment to shine, there's a certain sector of fans that simply can't handle it. Okay, not true. Well, okay. I'm not going to be an advocate, but I am going to be somewhat of a middleman here.
Okay.
Just give me give me a couple moments.
Okay.
While I won't necessarily disagree that there are plenty of superheroes that are straight white and male, that is not how most people of the general audiences give two shits about and look at them as characters, right?
Yeah.
And to also provide an example, I am a Hispanic man. Well, I'm a lot of things, but
Mixed race. He's mixed race.
well, okay, I'm primarily Hispanic. It's weird. Like I think I'm like 16.
Again, the like umbrella term is mixed race, or supposedly.
I think that would work more for my mom. I think I'm like 16th. So I don't know. It's a whole thing. I don't want to get into it just because I don't know the math of it. But yeah. One of my favorite superheroes, and I've said this many times, is Spawn. It was actually kind of like one of the first superheroes, or anti-heroes that I really got into as a kid because I watched the animated series, which was hard R, by the way. Well, the first couple episodes the first season that was on the DVD of the Spawn movie that I got. And this was back when DVDs were still relatively new, and it came in those really crappy cardboard.
The almost like CD cases.
Yeah. All in all, those are actually really interesting. I wish I had kept some, because I'm sure they're somewhat collectible items now.
It's kind of like me wishing I had hung on to more of my VHS tapes.
Oh, dude, I remember.
I still have the VHSs for the Tim Burton Batman movies somewhere.
Yeah. I actually got those again, the same type of on DVD, the same type of things. Well, Batman Returns. It was actually the first Tim Burton Batman movie I saw. Yeah, I saw them out of order. It was the whole thing.
Yeah.
But my point is, I grew up I watched that, and again, hard R adult animated show like that. I mean, to be fair, I don't really think it affected me that much. And I just remember how cool it looked, like the art style and stuff. But going back, I really appreciate it because it was a really interesting, introspective character study of Spawn. But no one has most people, mind you. I'm not saying that there aren't stupid people out there. But most people don't have a problem with other characters of different denominations taking the spotlight, as long as they're written like good characters. Because there are plenty of bad white male straight heroes that I dislike, like the CW's Barry Allen, because he's written like a fucking idiot and hardly ever gets to do anything on his own. It's also, again, just melodramatic as shit.
Yeah.
That's CW. That's CW overall.
With the possible exception of Stargirl and Superman and Lois.
Stargirl and Superman and Lois had money from the HBO. More worked on HBO Max. Like people who worked from HBO
Why
Max.
they didn't just premiere there, I will never know. But yeah, they premiered on terrestrial TV.
Well, okay, now Stargirl was meant for a DC Universe thing, but that fell through because they fucked up.
Because HBO Max decided to eat everything that Warner Brothers had the rights to, which included all the DC Universe stuff.
Doom Patrol is really good too.
Doom Patrol is awesome. Like Titans wishes it was Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol wipes its ass with Titans.
Right. I'm sorry. This is like a little tangent here, but I have the free subscription to the free week subscription to DC Universe when it came out. So that was years ago, and I watched the pilot episodes of Doom Patrol and Titans, to compare them.
Yeah.
The pilot for the Titans had intrigue, but ultimately, it felt kind of hollow to me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watched the Doom Patrol pilot, there were like legit, I think, 2 moments where I kind of started to tear up a bit. Like it got me emotionally.
Which for those that don't know is his bar for quality.
Yeah. But my point is, and Titans has a show, to talk feminist, if I have to, has a straight white male lead.
I mean, kind of. I always felt like, at least for the first season, especially, Raven was more the lead, and she, female.
Sure, that show was that first season was incredibly disjointed.
Yeah, Titans just is not a good show, period. But that's not here nor there.
Somehow it gets a fucking 4th season.
Yeah. Constantine didn't get a full season. Doom Patrol, I'm pretty sure, got canceled.
No, I think it has a 4th season. I think there was an announcement made a couple months back, but
okay, well,
nothing's really been said.
But Firefly didn't get a 2nd season. Pushing Daisies only got 3 seasons. Dead Like Me only got 3 seasons.
Right, but point being, also Black Lightning was a good show, to my knowledge. I remember only watching the first few episodes of the first season, and I liked it. I think it kind of went downhill when it really started talking more about. I mean, to be fair, it's don't quote me on that because I haven't seen the full show. I kind of fell off it for a time, but it's a black lead, so
yeah.
And he wasn't like he wasn't a stereotypical black man.
He wasn't BLM the character like 2nd season Nazi from American Gods turned into.
Anyway, no.
No, I had a thing to say.
Right. Okay. Please.
Read it again to kind of tee me up because
Sorry. For so long, movies and TV based on superhero comics centered on straight white male heroes. Now that the needle is moving ever so slightly to give heroes who don't fit into that dully familiar box a moment to shine, there's a certain sector of fans that simply can't handle it.
Okay. Once again, for those in the cheap seats, identities are not teams. Okay? The straightness, whiteness, and maleness of these characters means sweet but fuck all. Because they are individual characters with their own individual lives and individual backstories with individual life philosophies and ways of approaching the world and worldviews and skill sets and so on. There isn't some platonic hive mind ideal of straightness, whiteness, and maleness, because I don't know if you've noticed, my love, but Batman is about as far as it's possible to get from Superman, who is in turn about as far as it's possible to get from Green Lantern, who in turn is about as far as it's possible to get from Dr. Fate, who in turn is as far as it's possible to get from Phantom Stranger, and I could go on forever and ever and ever. So much so that Batman and Superman are sort of the most normie dichotomies of superherodom. You've got the people who prefer Batman because dark, brooding Avenger based on, the development of skills, and then you've got Superman, who is the avatar of mom baseball apple pie and has raw abilities up the wazoo, and so on and so on and so forth. Point being, there isn't some underlying universal code where you can claim that every straight white male character fits in the same box or adheres to the same ideals or anything along those lines. Also, characters of diverse backgrounds, be they racial, be they gender, be they whatever, have existed almost as long as their more normal or I guess I should rephrase, as their allegedly conventional counterparts. Wonder Woman first came out in the 1940s, created by a guy by the name of William Moulton Marston, who was a polyamorous dude back in the 1940s, mind you, and literally based large parts of Diana's backstory and powers on his love of BDSM. That's one of the reasons why one of her weaknesses is whenever someone puts her wrist bracers together. Because William Moulton Marston liked using handcuffs, and so he worked that into Wonder Woman's power set.
Right. Moving on.
But point being, there have been people of different races and genders and everything for basically as long as comics have existed. Like, there's only 2 years between Action Comics #1, which is the first like mainstream superhero comic that most people are aware of, which was 1938, and Wonder Woman, who was, I believe, in 1940 or 1941, and so on and so. And the same is true of black characters. I mean, hell, Giovanni Zatara also premiered in Action Comics #1 right alongside Superman, and he is arguably supposed to be Romani. So, where the fuck do you get off, please? But my larger point is that, number one, identities are not teams, and number two, there isn't some straight white male collective or hive mind that all straight white male characters or all straight white male people adhere to. And also, like Brainstormer was saying, that implies that people with dissident backgrounds wouldn't be able to empathize with or become invested in those characters, which I am gay and physically disabled and of a religious minority background, and I have no problem empathizing with straight white male characters if said straight white male characters as individuals have worldviews, life philosophies, backgrounds, or skill sets that I can empathize with. In my case, namely magic users, because I'm a practicing occultist with more than 16 years of experience, but that's neither here nor there. But point being, characters are to be judged as individuals, and you can tell that this is how characters have always been judged, because in the bygone days of geek spaces, one of the most defining qualities of who you were as a geek was which character you preferred, which character you empathized with, which character or character type you connected to the best. Again, the famous dichotomy between the people who like Batman and the people who like Superman. And you can fan that out to every other freaking character under the sun, because nerds by their very nature like niche shit. Moving on.
Yeah, okay. Marvel's She-Hulk Attorney at Law has already been getting the misogynistic treatment since it was first announced. Fuck you. Rather than simply opting not to watch the show and move on with their lives, fans who want all their heroes driven by testosterone have spent time complaining about this pivot to inclusivity across social media platforms. Okay, hi. Sorry, one sec. Hello. Guy who really liked Black Widow and is ashamed and is pissed off by how terrible that character was handled in her own fucking movie, which she deserved after the first Avengers in 2012. Also, really likes Okoye, the Dora Milaje.
Yeah, Okoye, the head of the Dora Milaje. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Okoye was really fucking cool. And I legitimately am like, I might be one of the only guys who thinks that she should be the new Black Panther.
Yeah, you're alone on that one just because she's the head of the Dora Milaje and they're supposed to be support players for Black Panther.
Fuck you, it makes sense logically. And
no, it does not. It does not.
She is like one of the only motherfucking women in those movies that is actually a capable fighter.
Yeah, but she's never been the Black Panther because the Black Panther mantle is for the chief family of the of Wakanda.
Discussion.
The Dora Milaje are supposed to.
I understand. Okay, Don, I get it. I'm sorry. I don't want us to get on another side tangent just because we could go on for hours. I know it. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, Lake Okoye. Sure, he's okay. I haven't seen enough of her to really get an opinion, to be honest. To be fair, I think those are all like two female characters that are just ever caught my attention because of how cool they are. Maybe Gamora? No, Nebula. I actually really like Nebula just on her personal story of growth and stuff.
I mean, I for one think that Agatha Harkness is the best magic user currently in the MCU.
To be completely fair, I haven't seen WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, I was just throwing my 2 cents into the ring on this one because.
But it's not that we don't want all of our heroes, testosterone, whatever the fuck. Like you're a very shoddy accusation there.
Okay, may I come in and support this?
Yeah, I think you can help get the point across.
Okay. Once again, there is a fundamental difference between female characters, i.e., characters that happen to reside within the demographic quality that is female, versus feminist characters. Feminism is an ideology that has a specific prescriptive definition of what womanhood is. And your issue, my darling, writer of this article, whose name I don't know because it wasn't listed, is you can't tell the difference between a female character and a feminist character. You assume that feminism by default, by fiat, speaks for all women and that all women abide by the feminist idea of what womanhood is, and any woman who doesn't abide by the feminist ideal of what womanhood is must have internalized misogyny or some shit. I.e., either you fit into our platonically described box of what womanhood is supposed to be, or you hate yourself. Those are apparently the only two options within the feminist framework. But the problem you have is that, one, there are women who are anti-feminist. There are even women who are men's rights advocates. In fact, most of the most popular men's rights advocates are women, but that's neither here. My point being, She-Hulk is a feminist character explicitly. She was the character as we have her in the MCU is different from her comic book counterpart because her comic book counterpart is very much a very well-liked female character. The difference being the MCU the cinematic version of She-Hulk, as we have been presented with her, is nothing but a avatar for the ideology of feminism. In the very first episode, she bitched about mansplaining and catcalling as two reasons why she is better at controlling her anger and has more anger to deal with than the Hulk. A character who, I will remind you, was abused as a child and watched his father strangle his mother in front of him when he was 5. And it is this repressed rage that results in the gamma radiation bringing out a secondary personality, namely the Hulk.
Which is weird because, I'm sorry, this is a little side tangent just because I've done research into the Hulk. somewhat, not like a lot, and it was very sparse and some time ago. But to my knowledge, the Hulk seems to be more, while initially angry and driven by that emotion, proves to be a person in his own right. Most people forget that.
He gets his shit together eventually and becomes a separate personality in his own right. Yes.
Yeah.
But the reason why his personality fractured in the first place, as in most cases with real world examples of what used to be called multiple personality disorder and now is called dissociative identity. Which, by the way, that would have been a nice thing to bring up in Moon Knight. The fact that the Hulk also is an example of dissociative identity disorder. But, that would require knowing something about how the character works, and we can't have that. But point being, the original reason why the Hulk manifests for Bruce Banner as a secondary identity and doesn't for Jen Walters is because Bruce Banner went through a very classic case of childhood abuse that basically gave him a slightly less overt version of DID, which was then amplified by his exposure to gamma radiation, hence resulting in his repressed anger manifesting itself as the secondary personality of the Hulk.
Right.
Or the other guy, as the cinematic Bruce Banner puts it. Which I actually really like him calling the Hulk that. That's
right.
nice.
Back to your point. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a character who, when asked what makes her better at controlling her anger than the Hulk, who as previously I went into, is literally a trauma victim, and that's what resulted in the Hulk manifesting itself as a secondary personality. Her excuse for that is women are angry by default because they have to deal with oppression in the form of things like mansplaining, catcalling, and violent men possibly just killing women outright. And this was in the first episode. The problem you have there is that is very much a conception of womanhood within the feminist framework only. It's not something that can be universalized to all women. It's not even something that most working class or poor women have to deal with. The feminist ideology is popular with middle class and upper middle class women and men in particular, because they have these abstract beliefs about what it means to be defined as a woman. But the problem is, statistically, that's not even a very high percentage of the population, because the last time anyone did a survey on this, only 8% of Americans and 10%, or no, it was 8% of Americans and 20% of people in Britain, I think was where the survey was done, identified as a feminist, which means there is at least 82% of American women and or Americans in general, and 80% of or rather 92% of Americans and 80% of people in the British Isles who actively don't identify as feminists.
Right.
That should tell you that if you want to speak for all womankind, feminism wouldn't be the means to do that, just mathematically. Never minding the moral aspects of it, never minding the philosophical aspect of it, just based on the statistics and the math that we have. Feminism does not speak for womankind or womanhood. But you insist that feminism does speak for womankind and womanhood, and so people who are feminists first and writers second go out of their way to design female characters who are avatars for and exemplars of the feminist worldview. And then they proceed to not be able to tell the difference because essentially in the feminist mindset, if you're a female person who doesn't identify with the feminist hive mind, you're being a woman wrong.
Right. Anyway.
You're either stupid or immoral or mistaken. Those are your only options.
Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Bruno?
Yep.
Okay. And now the show itself is making fun of them in return. To be fair, I don't think that was a recent thing. I think they knew people weren't going to like it, and so they decided to just say fuck it and fuck you.
Well, no. What they did was they assumed the motives of people who didn't like the show, and rather than actually address the people who had issues with the show based on their issues, i.e., rather than actually addressing the arguments people made in response to She-Hulk, they assumed they already knew what was going on in people's heads better than they did, and therefore assumed that the people who had issues with She-Hulk couldn't have had issues for meritocratic reasons or philosophical reasons or even just an opposition to feminism. They had to be motivated by closed-mindedness, short-sightedness, and hatred.
Okay. Moving on?
Yep.
Okay. The latest episode of the series features a news segment on Jennifer Walters, which, relative to this one, September 2nd, so that's 12 days ago, so roughly 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, episode 3 was when that happened.
What were your initial thoughts when you first saw that? And just like, again, try to keep it brief, I guess.
Again, it's a what crossed my mind was the fact that they're a bunch of short-sighted pricks who don't actually understand their own opposition. And that bothers me more than anything. This idea that I know what's going on in your head better than you do, so it doesn't matter what arguments you make. You actually are motivated by this very simplistic, very primitive, very myopic, childish motivation that I'm ascribing to you rather than the motivations that you yourself claim to be.
Right. Anyway. Move on?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Some stuck in my teeth.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. All right. Let me restart that sentence because I didn't finish it. The latest episode of the series features a new segment on Jennifer Walters, Tatiana Maslany, showing dudes complaining on the internet about turning every superhero into a girl.
Again, this is the straw man. This is exactly the straw man. It's not female characters people have a problem with. It's the ideology of feminism and its desire to be pervasive. Because much as with family values in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it assumes that it is the only way to be moral, and therefore that it has carte blanche to judge, infect, or reflect every aspect of society. Namely, you can't be moral without being my morality. In the case of the Family Values Brigade, it was you can't be moral without appealing to the Bible and appealing to my very rigid definition of family values. And in the case of feminism, it's you can't be a valid person outside of the feminist framework because nothing valid occurs outside the feminist framework.
Honestly, again, I think I said this before. I say this in a lot of projects, honestly, is I honestly feel bad for, like, the actors because, more or less, they're not, like, they're trying their best to turn something.
They're doing the best with what they're given, and what they're given is essentially moralizing propaganda.
Right, and from what I understand of Tatiana Maslany,
yes,
I got that right. Proud of myself for that one.
He doesn't get names right ever.
No, I don't.
It was like 6 months, and I had to actively correct him before he got my last name right.
From what I understand, I haven't seen a lot of her work. Mind you, I've seen clips and stuff. She's actually a really talented actress.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite actresses working today. And honestly, while I am amazed and grateful that we have the great and wondrous Charlize Theron playing Clea in the MCU, which by the way is casting even better than the casting I went for. I originally wanted Tatiana Maslany to play Clea because I thought she could play opposite Benedict Cumberbatch really well. Granted, Marvel went and said, we'll see your Tatiana Maslany and raise you a Charlize Theron, and I was just like, okay, that's fine by me. But she was actually my original. Tatiana Maslany was originally my ideal casting for Clea.
What was I? As much as like
Tatiana Maslany being a great actress is what we were.
As much as the dialogue that is written that the actress is forced to kind of say, she does try her best to make it both as natural and as charismatic as she possibly can be.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent Tatiana Maslany thinks that or would define herself as feminist, or how much she operates within the feminist ideological framework. Being as it's Hollywood, there's a decent chance that she is a feminist, because when people in Hollywood oppose these ideologies, it stands out more vis-a-vis Gina Carano, or Tim Allen, or guy who plays Star-Lord.
Chris Pratt.
Thank you. I couldn't think of it. Yeah. Usually when an actor goes against the approved zeitgeist and stands out in some way philosophically, it's more newsworthy. So I imagine Tatiana Maslany is at least tacitly feminist. But
Anyway.
but if I'm wrong, then I apologize, because no one should be strawmanned as a feminist when they are not a feminist. I know for a fact that when a person in the in crowd of Hollywood sins against the approved worldview, it's more often than not news,
Anyway.
like it was with Gina Carano.
Right.
Which honestly, although I love Tatiana Maslany, I would have, in a universe where Gina Carano didn't get the axe before Mandalorian season 3, I would have preferred someone like Gina Carano, or maybe even Ronda Rousey playing She-Hulk.
Honestly, I'd say more of Gina Carano. Like, no offense to Ronda Rousey, like, she's got the physique, mind you, but I just don't.
You don't know about her acting chops.
Yeah, like
though then again, prior to Guardians of the Galaxy, I would have said the same thing about Dave Bautista. So
no, that's fair. Although what I mean is, like, Gina Carano, while having that physique, she also is able to play a more. Well, She-Hulk is bombastic. I just think Gina Carano could play the more subtle aspects of the character.
Sensual and flirty and playful and
yeah. Anyway,
moving on.
Yeah. They took the Hulk's manhood away, but then they gave it to a woman. One man records himself demanding. Was that seriously in the episode?
Again, I find this more interesting as a reaction to what the writers think people have said versus what people have actually said. And yes, that was in the. But this is exactly the difference. Because you find that the only approved framework is the feminist framework, you can't imagine anyone outside of the feminist framework having any validity. And therefore you feel the need to see everyone with a different worldview from you as inhuman villains, mustache-twirling idiot villains. And therein lies the problem. And this is and to be fair, there are people on the other side of this issue, the anti-social justice side of this issue, that are slowly but surely going in that direction. People like Nerdrotic, people like Muller, people like
Thorius Unlimited, I think his name is.
No. Thorius Unlimited is more on our wavelength than.
Okay, to be fair, I've seen I think it's the titles of his videos and the thumbnails that kind of make it misleading. But I definitely used to follow his stuff. But then
YouTubers got a YouTube market, so that's why.
Okay, then I retract what I said. Yeah, I used to follow him, but it's like I kind of did some unsubscribing to certain people just because I realized I didn't really watch them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against them. It's just I kind of just.
Thorius Unlimited, I would give another try. I've been watching his reviews of She-Hulk because I find that he is a good balance of anti-SJW, but he still has to actually think it through. Whereas with people like the EFAP crowd, it's honestly become a knee-jerk straw man of back in the day, anti-SJWs would make cogent arguments against social justice themes, and the people who were in charge of inculcating those social justice themes would straw man their opposition by saying, "Oh, you're just hateful." And the problem is, some people who have been fighting that fight for so long, the anti-SJW fight, I think after a certain point they started embracing the straw man rather than reminding themselves they still needed to have cogent arguments. Which is why you had people like Nerdrotic, and we did a 2.5 hour or 4.5 hour response to Nerdrotic's review of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, if anyone is curious, can say factually wrong things like pointing out that Doctor Strange used to be Sorcerer Supreme when he categorically was never Sorcerer Supreme in the MCU yet, and so on. There are people who do embrace the straw man, as I call it, but those people are few and far between, and even then, within the context of your parody of them, it's a straw man. Good parodies are actually reflective parodies, like when they made Homelander a Trump allegory. The reason why that backfired on the writers and they assume that a bunch of people must be hateful now is because they made an accurate portrayal of Trump, thinking that being an accurate portrayal of him would be enough to make him unpalatable. When in actuality, all that did was make the people who thought that Trump was, who had favorable opinions of Trump, be on the side of Homelander. Because when you put the opinions of your enemies in the mouths of villains, you have to be very careful. Because what you want to happen is you put the words of your enemies in the mouth of villains, and then everyone realizes how villainous that opinion was. But what sometimes happens, especially if you don't understand your enemy all that well, or you don't understand why people find your enemy's arguments compelling, is if you put your enemy's arguments in the mouth of a villain, and you think that the badness of their arguments will be enough to convince people that the opinions are bad. What will sometimes happen is the people who oppose you will simply start finding that villain sympathetic instead of finding their own opinions non-sympathetic.
All right, going.
Yeah. Moving on.
Okay. She-Hulk calling out this toxic behavior in such a casually mocking way left fans who are equally sick of all the trolling pretty amused. Okay, and here are some, tweets here. I'm not going to read these just because they're not one time, and also they're not the ones I want to talk about. Just because
they're just not interesting. Feel free to go and read them yourselves if you want to.
Just double checking, see if I missed. Okay, no, I did. All right. While anyone who spends time on the internet doesn't need to be told how true to life these types of remarks are, receipts. Okay, from some of the actual responses to She-Hulk on social media were still pulled and compared to what ended up on screen. Okay.
And this is exactly your problem. You think because you filter everything through your framework that there is no difference between the straw man that you drew of your enemy and the things your enemy actually says. But there is a fundamental difference between the straw man you draw of your enemy and the things your enemy actually says. The problem you have is that you can't tell the difference between the world that exists separate from your framework and the way you interpret the world through your framework. Everyone has a framework. Everyone has structures through which they interpret information. I'm not crapping on the concept of framework as a whole. But it's very important that you remember that lens you have, that framework you're using, is precisely that, is a lens you are choosing to adopt. Because if you can't tell the difference between the lens you choose to adopt to interpret information and the information itself, you are going to strawman not only other people, but the world itself. You're going to selectively interpret the information you receive of the world through your lens and then not realize you did that. Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
All right, so they're bringing up pretty well, that scene that everyone got fishy about, but from what you told me, was not the worst scene of that episode.
Which scene?
Well, I'll read it here so you know.
The twerking one?
Yep. But let me read the thing here first. So, and these same people are at it again, complaining about the show's latest silly post-credits scene featuring Walters twerking with Megan Thee Stallion, just proving how predictable and boring they are. Dude,
wait. What was the first word of that?
What do you mean?
What was the first word of that tweet?
It's not a tweet. It's part of the article itself. I was going to read the tweet.
Oh, okay. What was the first word of that sentence, though?
And these people are at it again.
Oh, these. I was gonna laugh hysterically because I thought they said DC people are at it again, and I would have laughed mercilessly because confusion of universe. But no, never mind.
All right, yeah. You and I briefly talked about this like weeks ago on that scene because I'd seen it all over Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you said it wasn't even like the worst scene in that episode.
No. If I'm remembering the episode correctly, it was not even the worst scene of that episode. No.
Okay. I talked about and Dawn and I had a brief conversation about this the last time we hung out. Well, not the last time, but one of the times we had hung out this month, where I had said I really don't like it because I'm not a big fan of twerking. I think it's cringy in itself. Like if I saw a real person doing it, and I have, I mean, I grew up with a generation that invented it.
And you shall be judged for this when your time comes, Gen Z.
Hey, fuck you. I didn't invent it. Okay, I was born the wrong generation.
I know, but given that millennials apparently have to answer for everything every millennial has done wrong, then Gen Z will be judged for the invention of twerking. Then again, the Gen Xers invented the Macarena, so they don't have much room to talk here.
That is fun to me.
Yeah, but you didn't grow up at a time where it was constantly on the radio and would get stuck in everyone's head all the time.
Fair enough. Although I did.
The main problem with the Macarena isn't even the dance itself; it's the fucking song and how much of an earworm it is.
Anyway, yeah, like overall, I don't care. Again, I think overall it's just cringy just because like I don't like twerking.
Well, the other thing is twerking is a fairly old fad, and that was mostly my reaction to She-Hulk twerking. It reminded me of the famous meme, "How do you do, fellow kids?"
Right. I think it started. God, how old was I when it became a thing? Was it high school or middle school?
I want to say it was like 2012, 2013 when twerking.
So I would have been in like my later year of middle school, probably going to high school soon.
Yeah, because that would have been around the time I was graduating high school, and there are 4 years between us generally. So
yeah, it's a very, again, I'm just speaking on merit terms. It's a very lazy and uncreative dance. If you can call it a dance.
Yeah, and it's almost intentionally awkward.
Dude, yeah, I've been at school dances, man, and I've seen that. It's
wait, people actually twerked at dances? What the actual fuck?
Well, to be fair, that was in high school, so.
Well, I mean, stupid teenagers are gonna be stupid teenagers, so.
I know that. I'm aware of that.
I imagine you just sitting in the corner with like your head in your hand watching.
No, dude, I would fucking
big shame.
Dude, there were circles surrounding me whenever I did dances. Either like a really advanced form of the robot, or actually not just a robot.
Oh, that's hilarious, Brandon.
Believe it or not, I can be very sociable when I want to. I wasn't often, but I can be. Right. So this was the one tweet I saw that. Well, it's one of like two tweets I wanted to talk about. All right. So the original one that comes with a comment, Pop Crave, Megan Thee Stallion, and She-Hulk dance to Body in the post-credit scene for the series latest. Okay, why the fuck do episodes have post-credit scenes now? Are you kidding me? Okay, that's another thing.
Because Marvel.
Oh my god, that's stupid. Like, okay, end of the season, sure, do that, totally get that. But every fucking episode, is that what they're doing?
Yeah,
seriously?
But to be fair in one sense and unfair in another, She-Hulk's post-credit scenes aren't supposed to be taken seriously. They're supposed to be jokes, like
funny jokes,
like last-minute jokes that didn't really fit anywhere else in the episode.
That's still stupid. I'm sorry.
Like the first episode's post-credit scene was her and Bruce getting drunk together.
It's still stupid. I'm sorry. It's just
and Bruce telling Jen about Captain America losing his virginity, and Jen being really excited because she finally figured out that Captain America fucked.
Okay.
Even though I'm gonna be controversial here, maybe, and say I prefer the idea that he was a virgin right up until he went back in time to be with Peggy, because Steve Rogers is a cinnamon roll, and he's a cinnamon roll from the 1940s, and he is like the poster child for the classic American aw shucks, mom baseball apple pie mentality. So I don't think
New York. He's from New York, so
I don't think he would be unfaithful to Peggy by losing his virginity to anyone else. And he certainly wouldn't have lost his virginity before becoming Captain America. And while he would have had more opportunities to lose his virginity after being Captain America, because people hit on him, that's just we're not even fronting about that. People hit on him, but I think by virtue mostly of his personality, he wouldn't want to lose his virginity to anyone but the woman he loved.
anyway, again, we gotta roll here. Okay, so the comment to it was a J knife emoji. That's their Twitter handle.
People are dumb.
Yeah. Also, I do want to point this out with like the scene, because I've seen it. It's very awkward. Like, not even just the dance itself. It's like it looks unfit. Like the whole scene, like the CGI and stuff, just even more unfinished than in the show. I believe show proper. I believe. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so J knife. I guess that's what we're gonna call them.
Okay.
People in the replies hate fun and women having fun, because if Deadpool did this, you wouldn't bend that. Oh no, I'd hate it either way, man.
Twerking is inherently cringe, and it wasn't, and it isn't even a fad anymore. It's an outdated fad from 2012 that mostly was a flash in the pan to begin with. It only ever comes up as a how do you do, fellow kids? People in suits trying to relate to what the kids like nowadays.
Right.
Things.
But I also want to point. I saw that and I wanted to say something about like the difference between She-Hulk and Deadpool in terms of the fourth wall breaking or the self-aware characters they are.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Chrononaut. Okay, before I do that, Chrononaut, like the whole show, a joke, and I assume he's insinuating that Captain America lost his virginity to Sharon Carter, which
I think he confused Sharon and Peggy is the problem there, because Chrono, if he fucks Sharon, that means he's fucking his niece.
I was gonna say something, but
so no, he lost his virginity most likely to Peggy, either in the brief period when they were still dating in the first movie, or more likely, I think, in my opinion, because we don't really see a scene of them getting intimate in First Avenger, and it wouldn't make sense for either of them anyway, because again, 1940s means they would want to be married first.
Okay. Right. The difference between, well, for one thing, I believe She-Hulk did the thing before Deadpool did in terms of self-aware character.
Technically, yes, but yeah.
Well, okay. So the difference, besides that,
the difference between. Go ahead. Sorry.
The biggest difference to me, from what I gather from both characters, right, is that She-Hulk is the self-aware character that wants to laugh along with the viewer or the audience, but still understands that this is her world and we're just viewing it. Well,
when she breaks the fourth wall, she breaks it to be sassy. When Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, he does it to be a meme lord.
Not even that. Deadpool is a cynical, self-aware character. I would even argue possibly borderline nihilistic, simply because he realizes that he lives in a work of fiction, that nothing matters, does whatever he wants, and it'll just be reset.
Yeah, it honestly, Deadpool is the more heroic equivalent of the Joker super sanity hypothesis. There's a hypothesis that the reason why the Joker is such a jokester is because the accident with the acid gave him the power of super sanity, which means that he's aware that he's fictional.
Right. And Deadpool staff and actor, better delivery, miscasting and bad writing. I don't think She-Hulk was miscasted. I think it was just bad writing, really.
And I would argue even further and say it's the philosophical approach.
Yeah, that too.
The Deadpool movie was made as a fan, was made because Ryan Reynolds was a fan of Deadpool, and he knew a bunch of other people were fans of Deadpool, and so despite all of the self-aware comedy, it was an attempt by Ryan Reynolds to do right by the character and by the fans of the character in a sincere fashion.
Yeah, what's weird?
She-Hulk in the MCU is an avatar of the ideology of feminism / the bitter cynicism of 30-something suburbanite writers.
Right. What else was I going to say? Actually, no, I don't think that was it. I think that was it for me on that thing. Yeah, and he has made millions. That's true.
Yeah, because sincerity and actually giving a shit about the character you're embodying seems to be reacted to in a very positive way from the people who consume said products. Whereas cynical and moralistic idolatry or ideology tends to turn people off because people don't like being preached to. Who knew?
Don't. All right, moving on.
Yep.
All right, so this is another one by Alias, which they show a clip of the 3 dancing scenes within the MCU. One is obviously the She-Hulk twerking one. One is the Zemo dancing in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And one is obviously from James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy, where Star-Lord dances to distract
Ronan,
the
accuser.
Yeah. Waste of an actor, really.
I mean, the only problem there is Ronan died. If they had brought him back, I think he could have been a neat recurring villain. But unfortunately, villain characters die a lot in the MCU.
But the tweet itself says, "Guess which one they are calling cringe and complaining about?" # She-Hulk. Okay, again.
One, Star-Lord is a intentionally self-aware character who is he's a man child who loves memes and loves like old school popular culture. Zemo is a villainous bastard who finds everyone else to be stupid and silly and therefore doesn't mind mocking them. Jen Walters is the Jen Walters that we've seen in She-Hulk thus far is, as I previously mentioned, an avatar of middle-aged suburbanite cynicism from the writers, and specifically the moralistic ideology of feminism. And you can't have a moralistic, self-serious character do something that silly and that unencumbered without it coming across as insincere, and manipulative.
Right. May I?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if you're taking a pause or not. So.
No, I had more to say, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, okay. The biggest difference between all three scenes. Well, granted, I haven't seen the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I've seen clips and stuff. Specifically, that one as being like a GIF or something, or like a meme itself now. Obviously.
Yeah.
But I think he was trying to blend in the club due to like some work being done.
He was also kind of flipping the bird to the self-serious hero characters who he was being monitored by.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. And Star-Lord, used his dancing as a distraction for Rocket to blast the stone. Hello, Ed Brewer. You're a bit late, man.
Yeah. Also, he was trying to be deliberately. He was trying to be deliberately a showboat and He was trying to be his strawman version of basically Flash Gordon, because Star-Lord models his entire personality off of semi-self-aware heroic characters from 80s pop culture, because that's who he is.
Right. Well, late 70s, early 80s pop culture, I believe. I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me if I am. And again, here's the thing: the two scenes that are not that are being compared, they're also stay true to the characters. They're within the characters' mindsets and skills.
Yeah, again, Star-Lord is a man-child who models his mannerisms off of 80s pop culture heroes.
Right.
So of course, and not to mention, he's deliberately supposed to be someone who doesn't take a life seriously at all. And so of course, he's going to try to mock the self-serious villain by being as over the top as he can be, and also to get attention. Zemo is a highly refined intellectual who finds everyone else around him to be stupid. So of course he's going to showboat a bit to mock them. Jen Walters is a cynical, middle-aged, upper crust white woman who's constantly bitching about how she's never taken seriously.
I also have this. Both scenes work in a narrative sense within their respective stories. The twerking scene is just tacked on and serves no purpose either for the characters or story.
I've seen people defend the twerking scene on the basis that She-Hulk has always been overly sexualized. But number one,
that's not sexual. That's not sexualized. That's not sexy.
Well, no, it is in some ways trying to be, but twerking is the lowest and cringiest form of trying to be sexy.
It is just
number two. She-Hulk is sexy for her enjoyment and for the enjoyment of people around her. The Jen Walters She-Hulk character that we've been presented with in She-Hulk, the show, hates the male gaze, hates being sexualized, hates being seen as a quote-unquote piece of meat, and hates the idea that she's not taken seriously as a lawyer and as a serious individual. So why in the hell would she be the kind of person to indulge in something like twerking in her office, mind you? If she were out in a club, this wouldn't, and if people around her were also twerking, that wouldn't be as much of a hard sell. But number one, this scene only exists because they got Megan Thee Stallion, and for some reason they're obsessed with Megan Thee Stallion. And two, because we needed a punchline to end the episode with, basically.
Sorry, Ed Brewer, something. No, and twerking is never sexy. I mean, I have seen enough people twerking, men and women, in my high school days.
Okay, I'm gayer than a $3 bill dipped in rainbow sherbet, and I must ask the question: why would a man twerk?
Because they're stupid.
Like even if they had an amazing ass, like even if it was a wrestler or something, I think I would cringe if I saw a man twerking.
Yeah, no one looks sexy when twerking. Okay.
It's an old meme that was a cringy fad to begin with, and is now just a way of has been boomer writers trying to reach out to the youth and do the hello fellow kids thing.
Okay. So yeah, and it's in this tweet, which apparently is a thread, but I don't want to go to the thread itself simply because I can time. So it just starts off with, why is hashtag She-Hulk sexualized in the MCU? It's at her expense, and it's nothing like the comics. The comics would show various artworks of her being very sexy, like in bikini tops and stuff like that. Okay, here's the thing. Well, I'll let you cover the more finer points, Dalton, but
yeah,
just to kind of give the overview of it. She-Hulk in the comics, specifically the, like, I believe 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Or, well, early to late 2000s version of
Well,
She-Hulk.
no, like 80s and 90s. She didn't really do much in the 2000s.
Well, she did have a guest appearance on that Fantastic Four cartoon, World's Greatest Heroes.
Well, okay. I thought you were specifically referring to the version.
Okay, okay, fair enough. I did mean comics, but
I mean, she was also in the Incredible Hulk cartoon, and she was heavily based on the 80s and 90s version.
Just to keep it concise, let's just keep this concise then. Specifically comics then, 80s and 90s. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a She-Hulk who reveled in her beauty. And for everything together, again, I haven't seen the show myself. I've seen clips and I've seen discussions of it, but she technically only enjoys the power, not so much the beauty of.
Oh, well, no, she doesn't even enjoy the power. She just finds it convenient. Like she doesn't show off her strength for show offing her strength's sake or anything.
Right. And here's also the thing. The She-Hulk in the comics was also just a genuinely likable character. Like, she was witty, she was smart, she was
she had fun. She had been given a gift, and she wasn't ashamed of acknowledging that she was enjoying that gift.
Yeah, it's just weird to me. Like,
yeah,
there is literally nothing in the show. Again, to my limited knowledge, and this will be my final point, and I'll let you go, Don.
Mm-hmm.
To my limited knowledge of the show and of the character represented in the show, she is nothing like the comic counterpart in a very bad way.
Yeah.
Where to the point, honestly, you could have made an original character, and this just could have been like a terrible show overall, instead of ruining a established character. I think that's it.
Okay. In the comics, she enjoyed her sexuality, and
I'll read that comment later, Ed. But I was gonna say, like, that isn't one of her nicknames the Jade Goddess.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to double check on that.
But God damn it!
I'm sorry.
In the comics, She-Hulk enjoyed her sexuality openly, and she enjoyed that other people enjoyed her sexuality openly. In the show, she is what's known as a sex-negative feminist, or sex-negative feminist. she considers other people's gazes to be taking advantage of her and to be trivializing her and to be treating her like a piece of meat. And she wants nothing more in this world of the the cinematic version to be respected as a professional, as a serious lawyer, and for her professional skills alone. She finds the entirety of being She-Hulk to be nothing but either an inconvenience or something that has tangential usefulness.
Right. Is that all?
Like she indulges in the show, but it's a very cynical kind of indulging of, well, if I'm stuck with I'm stuck up this creek without a paddle, I might as well do something with it. It's not a wish fulfillment or a power fantasy or a organic indulgence. It's, well, I suppose I can get laid easier now, so I'll use She-Hulk to do that.
Right. And Brewer does bring up a good point. Before we end on this article and move on.
Mm-hmm.
But the comics Jen didn't ever want to be Jen, right? Didn't she always want to be She-Hulk?
Yeah, she spent most of her time transformed because in her mind, the She-Hulk version of me is objectively better in every way and lets me have fun in every way possible. Why the fuck would I ever go back?
Yeah,
and to be fair, I can understand that because it's like, I'm objectively better this way and can enjoy life better this way. Why would I bother?
Right. If I remember correctly, and again, while I've done research on the character, I have not sat down and like tried to, because I haven't gotten any of the comics. Probably should actually.
Yeah, although I'm not sure you could. No, you probably can find trades of the original like John Byrne run. Still,
I'm pretty sure they cost a lot though. Not like a lot, mind you. Not like.
Well, I mean, like $15 usually is what you pay for a trade, and it's like 10 issues.
But yeah, also similar to Hulk not wanting to be that puny Banner. To be fair, She-Hulk was different simply because like they weren't really two different distinct personalities like Hulk and Banner.
And with Hulk, it's different because Bruce Banner hates himself because again, he was traumatized as a child, and his repressed rage is what causes the split personality of the Hulk.
Right.
It's not. Hulk doesn't want to avoid being Banner because he enjoys being strong. It's because he hates being weak, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. If I remember, Jennifer Walters, before she's She-Hulk, is very kind of, not, I wouldn't say meek, but shy, introverted somewhat.
Withdrawn, maybe, would be a good word.
Okay, yeah, thank you, withdrawn. But she was also very courageous, and that became even more so when she became She-Hulk.
I mean, she still was a high-power lawyer who was trying to bust the mob.
Yeah.
And didn't mind putting her life on the line to do so.
Thank you, Ed. Mousy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when she was turned into the She-Hulk, I think originally, yeah, she acted like a Hulk at first, like a regular Hulk at first, obviously, because that just first time.
Transition periods be how transition periods be.
Yeah. But ultimately, like everything that, because I think ultimately that it's like the thing with the super soldier serum in the MCU is like it just brings out more of what you are.
Good that becomes great, bad becomes worse.
I mean, she didn't become like a bitch. She became more outgoing, extroverted.
She essentially was the nerdy wallflower girl who never got what she wanted out of high school, and suddenly she was a superpowered version of the hottest cheerleader / female model she could possibly ever be.
Yeah, it's like one of those stories of like, the very nerdy ones that when they come back at the high school reunion, they're basically like a completely different person.
she finally has the ability to come out of her shell and be the not like she went from being the nerdy girl to being the hottest cheerleader in the room, and she's finally able to indulge herself.
Yeah. Anyway, there was a last line that I had there. It's okay. Imagine simply enjoying things. Couldn't be these guys. Oh no, I enjoy a bunch of things. I have standards. That was the end of that article, by the way.
Yeah, the problem you have there is true enjoyment has to be substantive. Like yes, you can enjoy things on a very surface level, superficial level, but the more substance the things you enjoy have, the greater the quality and depth of your enjoyment is. So, generally speaking, when people strive to enjoy things, they dig to see if its enjoyability is skin deep or if there's actual substance behind it. Because the more substantive the thing you enjoy is, the higher your level of enjoyment is, and the more refined your level of enjoyment is. So, and if something you love used to be substantive and is now a pale shadow of itself, it's gonna piss you off, is it not?
Right. Like, sorry, that's just Ed Brewer said, referencing, I believe, the newest episode that you were talking about earlier. Dude was like, no offense, but She-Hulk's hot, and the woman I woke up with is not.
No, that was literally his explanation as to why he.
I'm sorry, that was actually written. That was
in a thing, yes.
That was.
Yes.
How is it that I've written fan fiction better than that?
Because you actually care about your characters and the world they exist in as an end in themselves rather than as a means to an end. And you also understand people well enough that you actually can create well-rounded, or you can be the voice of well-rounded characters, as opposed to these people who only understand their single white suburban femalehood.
Right. Okay, so I accidentally clicked exit on the tab that had the next trailer. So give me a second while I set that back up.
Yeah. But that's the thing about the guy that she that rejected her, is she didn't explain how She-Hulk works, and she was definitely dating above her weight class, as it were, because this guy was a doctor who was built like a frickin' Mr. Olympia model. So I can understand. The thing is, the most annoying thing about Chad guys, the alpha guys, all that I can kind of understand to some degree, is they prioritize fitness and alpha bro energy, so they expect whoever they're with to as well. Which makes it really annoying if you happen to be looking for your opposite, like I do, because in every gay romance story, there's always a jock and a nerd who fall in love with each other, and that's the kind of relationship that I want. But the problem is, in reality, most jock guys prefer other jock guys. And I imagine it's very much the same with regards to male on female relationships, whereby a fitness model boy is going to fall for a fitness model girl, and the idea that this Giga Chad, for lack of a better word, fell for the 6'7" Jade Goddess makes perfect sense to me. And I can also understand why he would be put off by Jen, especially because she never told him that was how She-Hulk worked. She could have easily mentioned, oh, by the way, I'm going to look different when we wake up together tomorrow. It's still me. I just change the way I look in the same way that the Hulk does.
Right. Okay.
It would have been a very simple thing for her to say, but she didn't even mention it.
Right.
And that is false advertising. So I don't blame the guy for being upset with her after that.
Right.
Granted, he had a very straw man, dude bro reaction because the writers are not capable of being thoughtful or nuanced about shit, but never mind.
All right, I'll read this one, Ed Brewer, and then we're moving to the next trailer, okay? I'm guessing these folks aren't just getting a check, but are paid top dollar for writing / creating this track.
Yes, they are.
If I remember correctly, they originally had planned it to be a, was it a crime drama or no? Legal dramedy, I believe is what was said, right?
Yeah. And then the writers were like, we're not good at writing legal stuff, so we're going to make it.
Then you bring in people who are, or you bring in fucking experts on the shit, actual fucking lawyers.
Yeah, people who actually. Sorry.
I'm sorry. It's just like I found this out. Like one of the shows I watched, not often, but I've gotten into after I've seen like a bunch of clips and video essays on it, is The Wire. And if anyone knows that show, good for you. It was like a crime drama.
I remember The Wire. I never watched it, but I know about it through basically osmosis.
Right. I recommend it. I mean, I would recommend it myself, mainly because I do like those kind of like crime drama shows, but it's whatever. What the fuck? Most of the cast, not cast, most of the writing team were actually composed of actual, like, either retired or, no, I think it was retired police officers and detectives and stuff.
I.e. people who have the experience to know how things work.
Yeah, so, like, if you, like...
And no, that doesn't mean you have to have one-to-one life experience of the people you're involved.
No. Like, it's the thing you always say, like, when they do, like, the magic stuff in Marvel or something, is, like, bring in consultants that actually know about, like, actual magic and stuff.
Yeah, or considering that part of your job is to convincingly portray shit, you, as the writer, can either do research or, like, watch a bunch of examples of how other people have done it. Like for example, what's stopping the writers of She-Hulk, for example, from watching Perry Mason or Judge Judy or
Night Court,
or Night Court, or even something sillier like Legally Blonde or Ally McBeal,
Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law.
Yeah, like, or hell, even something as silly as the courtroom scenes from Grandma Got Run Over by a Rain. Hell, there's even a professional lawyer on YouTube who has an entire segment, or has an entire recurring segment on his show where he compares portrayals of legal shenanigans on shows and movies and things to real life legal codes, and basically says how he would think that these cases would go in realistic terms.
I think I only saw one of his. I never got to finish it though, which was regarding the Sokovia Accords. I think I know who you're talking about.
Legal Eagle, I think.
I believe, yeah.
The channel name.
Yeah, I believe so.
But yeah, there are people like that whose job it is to take something in fiction, transpose it over or back again. Hell, for as an example, slightly off topic. There's a guy on YouTube. The channel name is Binging with Babish. He takes the concepts of foods from fiction, whether it be movies, whether it be TV, whether it be books, whether it be whatever, and he translates them using real knowledge of being a professional chef into the closest real world analogy. Or if there's a visual component to whatever he's making, he will try to make it also look as much like the food on the show while simultaneously also tasting good.
Right. I've actually seen also bring up this one, like two things, or maybe three examples I know of. The various doctors and surgeons and stuff that talk about like actual movie injuries and
react to movies and medical dramas and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Those guys, which I find very interesting. There's actually one that talks about like the actual legitimacy of certain like bio enhancements in like, certain media, like Warhammer and Halo and stuff.
Just because something is fictional doesn't mean it doesn't. Or to put it even better way, just because something isn't empirically true doesn't mean it can't be rational.
Right. And there's also, this is actually one of my favorite ones. It's a whole series called Stuntmen React.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you've seen it?
I've seen a couple here and there.
Like it's also stuntmen and stunt women and like talking about like various different stunts, like from car stunts to parkour to actual like.
And I mean how the best example of the importance of, in order to make fiction meaningful, logic has to be applied to it to some degree. Everyone knows, or at least everyone in my generation and the generation below me probably know, the Mythbusters, and anyone who's ever watched, especially the early Mythbusters, knows the background that Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman have is in special effects stunt work, which allows them to know enough about real world science to arbitrate the difference between when movies and shows are pulling shit out of their ass, or when myths are pulling things out of their ass, or when there might actually be viability to them. That's why they're good at doing the science of, is this urban myth true? Let's put it under scientific rigor and actually test it. And if not, and this is often the most fun part, if we can't, if it happens not to be true, how can we replicate the occurrences of the myth? What circumstances would have to transpire to replicate such a circumstance? Because here's the funny thing. The line between fiction and nonfiction is actually a lot more malleable than people think when said fiction is done well. For the famous example, the reason why the first cell phones were flip phones was because some Star Trek nerds wanted to make a real life working version of the communicator from Star Trek, and they did it. And so on and so forth.
I'm sorry, it's just time and stuff.
Yeah. Well, finite.
Although I like talking about Stuntman React, I legitimately remembered some episodes that were relatively recent that had a guy that was part of Jackie Chan's stunt team and has become one of like the more prevalent stunt coordinators in Hollywood recently.
Yeah, I mean, but to be perfectly clear, we're not saying you have to defer to experts. In fact, honestly, I would prefer a situation where it would be incumbent upon the writers to do the research themselves to some degree.
Oh yeah, no, preferably that would be the first thing you do. And if you think it's either a time thing where you don't have the time to do as much research as you would like to, then that's when you start to bring in the experts.
And of course, the best of all possible worlds is when you have a working understanding of something yourself through research.
You get consulted.
And then you go to the expert to essentially get real world practical experience on the given thing.
or a second opinion on something. Obviously, yeah. Anyway,
to make sure it's more substantive and therefore more meaningful.
Yeah, that's why I actually study a lot of stunt work myself. I don't practice it like physically myself. I watch a lot of things about it, so I can have a better understanding in case when I actually do get to work on movies that have a lot of stunts.
I mean, you know how I work with regards to creative things. My standard approach is just I am unsure of the answer to that question, so I'm a research.
Yeah,
but like
you can
for those that don't know, the Lionhearted universe has a Superman character, and sometimes at like 3 a.m, I would just randomly spam brainstorm with all sorts of like biological and physiological research I've done on shit with regards to how his biology works.
I'm sorry, just again, I got to get to bed kind of early, man.
Yeah, okay. Wolfsbane.
Yeah, so this is Marvel Studios special presentation, Werewolf by Night, plus trailer. I think I sent this, right?
I don't remember who sent it.
You don't either. Either way,
I might have
had a
sent
back and forth about whether covering this in October or not, but we decided now just because I believe it would be released in October.
Yeah, and we'll review it when it comes out, along with the Hocus Pocus 2 trailer we're going to do now, and then we'll review the movie when it comes out.
Yeah. Anyway,
Wolfsbane.
No.
This Halloween, you can't escape the shock, the terror of Werewolf by Night.
See, in theory, I should be over the moon about this, because the supernatural side of the Marvel Universe is of any comic book universe, is my thing. But I have an issue here because Werewolf by Night is a badass motherfucking character. Imagine a werewolf with a plasma shotgun whose job it was to track down other monsters. Think of a werewolf with the personality of Rocket Raccoon, basically.
Let me guess. This comes off as more just standard, typical werewolf movie.
No. I get what they're doing. They're trying to make it like a classic 1930s horror movie, like a Universal monster.
I was going to bring that up. Like this, it very much feels like that, which I'm not opposed to. But the thing is, I wonder, because I don't mind black and white movies for the most part. I think it's just like I would prefer.
I think especially with how successful Multiverse of Madness was at replicating the Evil Dead aesthetic, that would have made more sense to it would have made more sense to have Werewolf by Night have more of an Evil Dead aesthetic than a classic 1930s Universal movie monster, especially because I know for a fact they're trying to set up Midnight Suns, and they've already said they're going to do Moon Knight and Blade. Obviously, they've already done Moon Knight, and they're going to do Blade. And Werewolf by Night is a member of the Midnight Suns, along with Encanto, the Living Mummy, and the Man Thing. Although we do get glimpses of the Man Thing here, but that's neither here nor there. So if I were doing this, I would be giving Jack Russell, the Werewolf by Night, a personality kind of similar to like Ash Williams from the Evil Dead franchise.
Like a dumbass badass.
Yeah, again, think of Rocket Raccoon if he were a werewolf instead of a raccoon.
Okay. Anyway, no.
Wolfsbane.
No.
Tonight, it is every hunter for themselves.
Good luck. I'll be rotting for you.
But one of you is a monster, masquerading as one of our own. I can't wait to find out what.
It's weird. Like, I think this would look really amazing if the black and white filter wasn't on it.
Yeah,
The set,
honestly, I would have gone the other route and made this like super saturated and super over the top colorful. Again, kind of going for a Evil Dead type aesthetic.
right? Yeah. The sets look really good. I'm not like, it's weird. This looks cinematic. Like, I know I say that often, but it does.
And I don't mind the Hammer horror vibes because the Hammer horror makes sense here, but that doesn't mean you have to cut out the dark fantasy vibes or the action vibes, because again, that's one thing that Tim Burton and Sam Raimi are both very good at, is throwing Hammer horror vibes along other things. Like, for example, Sweeney Todd, the over the top gouts of blood and everything was very Hammer horror, but it was also a very serious, like, serial killer type movie. And with Evil Dead, it was an action movie and also an over the top Hammer horror-esque horror comedy.
I honestly say Sweeney Todd was like a movie adaptation of it was a tragic opera.
Yeah, I mean they were doing an adaptation of the musical, so yeah.
Which I believe was more of a dark comedy.
No, well, it was more serious.
Okay.
Than the movie actually.
Oh.
Tim Burton leaned into the humor more than the actual.
Fair enough. Anyway,
musical did.
Yeah, like, it's weird. Like, I don't mind black and white. Honestly, there are sometimes I wish some horror movies would do that. Specifically if they were going for that more B horror, Hammer horror feel. But I don't know.
I'm confused what Marvel is going for here, because again,
he doesn't think they're going to do this in the actual show. Like, it's actually going to be colorful.
No, they're going to apparently they're going to go black and white the whole time.
Huh. Okay, again, I would be like, if they did a Sin City thing, then I think that'd be cool. You know, if certain colors would start popping out and stuff.
Again, the badass aspect of it, and that's the thing. Because I know Marvel wants to do a Midnight Suns, and because I know they're going to throw Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night, Blade, Into the Living Mummy, hopefully, and Man-Thing onto the Midnight Sun, then probably have Doctor Strange lead them, which, again, I'm all for. Why are you not leaning into the badass aspects of Werewolf by Night? Because tell me if this does not read badass to you. Jack Russell is a werewolf who hunts other monsters professionally, usually with a plasma rifle.
Okay, you know what? You might hate me for this, Dalton, and I'm sorry. But I think an inspiration for, like, the idea you're proposing that Werewolf by Night, I believe, miniseries should be, is
it's a special. They're doing it as a special for Halloween, but they plan to bring up the character back later, and maybe he'll be handled better later. But like,
okay, but what I was gonna say was like an inspiration that kind of should have been put here, besides like B horror Hammer films, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of like the Hugh Jackman Van Helsing movie in some aspects.
I mean, a bit, yeah, kind of.
I'm not saying I'm not saying a 1-to-1, obviously, but certainly.
No, but I get what you're saying, because again, Jack Russell, at least in the modern takes on him, the the old school comic one was a little bit different, but the modern take on Jack Russell is basically he's a werewolf who hunts other monsters professionally with a freaking plasma rifle, and his personality is somewhere between Rocket Raccoon and the Punisher. Like that should be more than enough to sell it. A monster who hunts other monsters and is kind of a dickhead while doing it. Like that shouldn't be that hard of a sell, but instead of that, they're going this like 1930s Universal movie monsters meets Hammer horror vibes. And I love Hammer horror, and I love the Universal movie monsters. I mean, for fuck's sake, I have a collection of Hammer horror. I have a collection of Hammer horror movies right fucking here is if I can find the actual pile that they're in, because I have like piles of. But I have here. Here's my copy of Abbott and Costello meet the Universal movie monsters, for example. I am not a hard sell with regards to those things, but with regard to Werewolf by Night, I would lean more into the badass horror comedy Ash Williams meets the Punisher or Ash Williams meets Rocket Raccoon vibe for Jack Russell more than anything.
Right.
And especially given that they've already established that the mystical / gothic / horror part of the MCU takes inspiration from Sam Raimi, like it did with Doctor Strange 2, it feels strange that they would go classic horror movie route instead of Evil Dead route, because a Midnight Suns movie or show has more potential even to be Marvel's Evil Dead than Doctor Strange 2 did.
You know what's the weird thing? For some reason my mind just thought of this. Get some of the guys who work at what is it? Full Moon? No, not Full Moon. The guys who made the Puppet Master movies.
Blue Moon.
Blue Moon, thank you. Blue Moon Studios.
I'm sure some of them are still around, and given that you have Marvel money to throw around, they wouldn't be turning down a payday.
I think they're still making Puppet Master movies too. So
is Blue Moon still making new things?
Well, they're not. It's obviously not theatrical releases. More releases.
No, they're the direct to video as they always have been. But I'm just saying, like.
They also did like a weird parody of Doctor Strange. I think I sent a video.
I remember that, Dr. Mordred.
Yeah.
It's basically the only piece of Doctor Strange paraphernalia other than the 1979 one, which I will never own because fuck that shit.
Right.
But I don't yet have a copy of Dr. Mordred. I also don't have a copy of the 2007 animated one, which is a travesty because I really freaking love that version.
Right. Anyway, shall we?
Wolfsbane.
Wolfsbane.
What breed of evil you are. You wanna see this, darling?
Please don't do this. Death is coming for you!
It's weird. It looks good, but I'm not.
It's not the right vibe. It's a good version of what it's trying to be. It's just not trying to be the right thing.
It's weird. Like I want to like this, I really do, but I'm just not. I'm not engaged.
And I also find it odd because they also gave Agatha in WandaVision kind of a horror vibe to her that was very over the top and campy.
Yeah, like the song. I'm not gonna say it because it's gonna get stuck in my fucking head.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You said
Agatha all alone.
Fuck you.
It's too late to fix
I'm-
anything now that everything.
Where's the list of how many punches I'm going to give you whenever?
I know.
But what I was gonna say is, it's weird because like it had that very classic, like again, like honestly, like the theme song of either the Addams Family or actually more so if I remember.
Yeah, they were kind of going monsters with
Yeah.
Agatha more than anything.
Yeah.
And she had this weird. The character had this weird like old school grandmother meets like the witch from Hansel and Gretel vibes.
To be fair, in the comics, she's actually like the aunt, not aunt, but nanny to Franklin and Valeria Richards.
Yeah, and honestly, I know nothing is ever going to top Yondu's Mary Poppins reference, but if they don't make Mary Poppins references with Agatha Harkness when the Fantastic Four show up, I'm going to fucking shove a red hot arrow through someone's eye over it.
Okay. Okay, as Lord. But yeah, like again, it's weird. Like, it's just. I think the thing is like they're not really showing the main, the titular character.
Yeah, we haven't yet seen where. And again, is this or is this not a very simple pitch to do? A monster, a badass monster hunter who is also a monster that hunts other monsters with a fucking plasma rifle. Again, werewolf with a plasma rifle should have been the pitch. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because that shit writes itself.
Also, if you're gonna do a Howling Commandos, or Midnight Sun or whatever, I'd say take inspiration from Monster Squad if anyone remembers that film.
Yeah, that's the other thing and I'm sure when they get around to actually making the Midnight Suns, they probably will. I'm just saying, Jack Russell is kind of the thug of the Howling Commandos ish. Like, Werewolf by Night is the smart one. Blade is the token badass. Jack Russell has always been more, again, kind of like the Punisher. So I don't understand why, of all things, you would go this route. Like, if this were a Living Mummy show, this would be perfect because it would be a reference to the Mummy.
Right.
But it doesn't work here because, honestly, again, you should be going almost Ash Williams route with Jack Russell or Planet. But anyway, Wu's Bane.
Yeah, one second. But I was looking at comments that are on. Wu's Bane.
Werewolf by Night.
This also isn't really a very good trailer because it doesn't show anything about what the special is. It's supposed to be like a Halloween special, basically. It's Marvel's Halloween special, but like they didn't show us, like, again, what if Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing was aware, and yes, he did actually turn into a werewolf in that movie, but I mean from the get-go, if he were a werewolf, is basically who Werewolf by Night is. Anyway, on to the last thing because we got to get moving here.
Right. Sorry, I was setting it up. The Hocus Pocus 2 official trailer, which is under 2 minutes. Again, I'm surprised by that.
Yeah.
Also, I guess it's the 100th anniversary of Disney, and
Yeah.
as much as I don't like, as much as I am against the current
management
and decisions that Disney has made. I respect them enough as simply something that has stood the test of time for a century. Not many things have.
Yeah, I mean, I believe Snow White and Wizard of Oz came out in the same year, actually, so 1938. And it's currently 2022, so Uncle Walt's brainchild has certainly lasted a while. Bless you, by the way.
Thank you.
I hope you're not getting what I got last week.
No, I think I'm just. It's again the dust that keeps fucking with me.
Mm.
All right, anyway. Shall we?
Yep. Banana. Because I can't think of a more creative one for this.
Fuck it, jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't think. Yeah, jack-o'-lanterns.
Well, I was contemplating whether or not to use that one because it's not October yet.
We're going to be using it in a week or so.
Yeah. So jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
I banish thee from Salem forever.
You are right to fear thee. Magic has a way of uniting. Happy 16th birthday, child.
Okay, I have problems with this because it implies magic is some kind of biological thing or mutation.
Yeah, and you really hate that.
Not
without
magic.
reason. Not without reason, obviously. I'm just.
Yeah, it's just that is one of my personal bugaboos. It's just magic is a skill which anyone can learn. You can be better at it, or you can be naturally gifted with it to some degree, but it is important to me that magic be a skill which anyone can learn. And to be fair, in the original movie, they show Allison having read about protective magic. If they having read about protective magic in Winifred's spellbook, casting a circle of salt, and it works. So either they're gonna have to retcon it so that her family line was witches or some shit, or magic is something that anyone can learn. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they go the very classic, like, medieval witch approach with the Sanderson sisters and literally imply that they sold their soul to the devil? Literally. So is it magic by blood? Is it magic by skill? Or is it magic by bargain and skill? These are the questions. Anyway, jack-o'-lanterns.
Give me 1 sec.
I have a gift for my favorite customers. Legend has it, it's on the 16th birthday that a witch gets her powers.
Yes, Salem.
Small point, and this is me nitpicking like a motherfucker, but I grew up on spookier side of Disney Channel, and I have to say, you missed one hell of an opportunity by not making it 13 rather than 16. again, I realize that's massively nitpicking, but is it not better? Would it not be better if it were 13 rather than 16?
Honestly, I'm waiting for. Actually, no, I don't want to say that. Completely unrelated to this. Just relating to that, I grew up with more with a Disney that wasn't afraid to take risks.
Yeah, anyone remember 13th Year? The story about the mermaid or the merman kid?
I never saw it myself, but I remember the whole thing with like the CGI covering the CGI hair thing.
CGI hair. I don't remember that.
Covering the buttocks of one girl that was going back into the mermaid lady.
Oh, okay, her, the mom. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say because most of what the fuck was the kid's name? Cody. His mermaid effects were done practically back when Disney tried to do things practically on occasion.
Well, no, like recently Disney Plus, like it was a censorship thing. They did recover the female's buttocks.
Oh, okay. So it's a I that would explain why I haven't watched that movie and I'm gonna have to watch. I really like the 13th Year actually.
Oh wait, no, I remember that. I remember that movie. I saw it like a few times when it was airing.
Kid about the kid that was like a swimmer jock. Turns out he's actually a mermaid.
Yep.
Or merman.
Oh no, I guess
And yes, I thought he was cute when I was a kid. Don't judge me. Shush.
I'm not surprised, man. Like I am sure any male protagonist in a Disney Channel original movie, you had a crush on.
I mean, not every male protagonist, because a lot of the male protagonists of Disney movies were nerds like me, and I prefer other types. The one thing that always made me laugh hysterically was in the movie Luck of the Irish. Not only does the luck make him human sized, it apparently makes him like exceptional human sized because he's like 6'4" before he starts shrinking again. So it's like, so not only does this luck make him human sized, which in and of itself is a feat given how small we see leprechauns actually are, but not only is he tall, he's freaking NBA tall. Freaking nepotistic magical bullshit.
Anyway. Jack-o'-lanterns?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Gilbert, where did you get that candle? We have to get out of here. The witches will be here any second. Ah! The book is alive.
He woke up.
Oh.
Okay, I like this.
Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, I like this shopkeeper character, and I'm betting that the shop he owns is like a magic shop. Which, given that it's set in Salem, holy fucking hell, are there a lot of witch shops in Salem? But I like the idea that number one, they're acknowledging that Salem is just lousy with witch shops in general, but also that this guy actually knows that the book is alive and that his question is not it's alive. His question is he woke up, so he knows the book is a living creature. What surprises him is that the book is awake, because only Winifred or other witches could call for the book before.
Aurora Splash did a live-action mermaid pretty good. That was nearly 40 years ago.
I've seen Splash, or I remember seeing clips of Splash. I don't think I've ever sat down and watched it. The mermaid movie that I grew up with was the Disney Channel original movie from like 1999. It was called The 13th Year. It was about this kid who figured out that his mom was a mermaid who had left him up for adoption, and that he didn't figure it out until he turned 13 and he started going through puberty, which allowed his merfolk side to start taking over whenever he got wet.
Anyway.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Whoa, wait, can we talk about this?
Not freak out. The vengeful maniac obsessed with getting revenge on Salem. So, very bad for Salem.
Honestly, I'm sick of the flying on non-standard things joke, because surely they must be able to get like actual broomsticks from somewhere.
It could be just a preference that they just like doing that because it's fun.
I mean, maybe, but it's just like it was funny in 1993 when they first did it, but it doesn't. The joke is now old, and I want them to just have broomsticks again.
I can understand that. I can understand. I think the thing is, I think the hoverboard thing is a bit much.
Yeah, basically the Roombas. She's and that brings up the question of how the fuck does Mary's magic interact with the technology, the electronic technology of the Roombas? I shouldn't have to ask this question, but you made me ask this question, movie.
I mean, it's not a Roomba.
Yeah, she's flying on like 3 or 4 different Roombas that are floating together in that shot.
No, I thought it was a hoverboard.
No, they're playing on the vacuum cleaner thing from the first movie. They're Roombas.
Whatever. Either way, shall we?
Yeah. Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
We should get some salt. Why? So we taste better when they eat us?
I do like that the girls who bring them back this time are into witchcraft themselves, and so they can. It's essentially a magic must defeat magic situation.
Yeah, that's fun.
I mean, they had that a little bit with Allison in the first movie when she read that section of the book, but I always like it when it's acknowledged that people actually do choose to study this shit, especially in 2022. There's been an upswing in magical practitioners, for better or worse, that hasn't been seen since the 60s recently. So,
right.
Granted, mostly that's backfired because they're all new agey fluffy bunny bullshit, but never mind. Mostly.
I do think probably just somewhat similar to like the original. The Sanderson sisters are going to steal the show, right?
I mean, yeah, we haven't really commented on it, but it very much seems like Bette Midler, Kathleen Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker were able to get back in character without missing much of a beat. I can kind of tell with Winifred's voice because she has to go several octaves higher than her normal voice to be Winifred, but and it is a little bit telling, but it's only because I'm always very sensitive to voices and voices being different. Like whenever they replace a voice actor, I can always tell on things.
Mm.
So yeah, it's only changed insofar as it's been 30 years. So of course they're gonna sound a little bit off.
Shall we?
Jack-o'-lanterns.
Jack-o'-lanterns.
That's not 6 feet under.
Stop! I'm a good zombie!
Oh, Billy, he's back. Yay.
That's Paul. No, it's not. The fuck is his name? I forget his fucking name. The guy who's done a lot of who's known to be the actor for creature makeup.
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones. I don't know why the fuck I was gonna say Paul.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot. I am aware that he played the original Bob. Paul. No, Bob. Bob, right? Bob.
Huh?
What was his name again? The character's name.
Billy.
Billy. So, yeah.
So yeah, I guess Billy's coming back, which you'd think they wouldn't do that. You'd think Winifred wouldn't do that this time because she was expecting Billy to be a loyal zombie last time, and Billy turned coat and fucked with them.
Maybe they're not the ones that summon him.
I suppose it could be the girls now. Although the one thing that does bother me, and this is going to sound very SJW, is where the male practitioners at. It does kind of bother me that they're all girls because they might turn this into some kind of feminist witch power fantasy thing. Which
the shopkeep could be a practitioner.
Well, I mean, yeah, he does own a witch shop, and he again was the only one that wasn't surprised by the book doing book things. So it's possible he might be I just wonder if he's gonna actually use magic at some point, because we see the girls using magic to counter, to put themselves in a circle so that Winifred's magic bounces back. But
September 30th. So this upcoming Sunday, I believe.
That seems a little early to me. I would have at least put it on October 1st. But I guess it's the same night, so. And most people probably aren't going to stay up late to watch it like I will.
Yeah. That's Friday. That's the Friday after next Sunday, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because next Sunday is the 25th. And then,
right. Anyway, just because I need to get to bed.
Yeah, sleep. So good night, everyone.
Yeah, with that, folks, I want to say goodbye, adios, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, sayonara, peace, cheers, and
shalom. Now fuck off.